to another episode of Spare Time. I'm your host, Carlos, and this podcast is brought to you by Umpqua Survival, coolest store in the land. And today, my guest is my wife's uncle, George Heppner from Heppner Excavation and Trucking. How's it going, George?
It's doing good, Carlos.
Right on. And everybody's favorite, Mike.
Hello, hello.
What's up, dude?
Hey, we're doing it this Friday.
I know you were whining about this week. You said it was rough.
It was a rough week. Yeah. I had a lot of mental anguish this week at work. I actually had to do shit. So,
Hey, man, I had some anguish too.
That's anguish.
yeah, it's rough.
Oh man. Right on. So George, probably not a lot of people around that listen to my podcast know who you are. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm based out of Medford, Oregon, so about 90 miles south of here. That's probably why not too many people know about me around here. But I have a dump truck and excavation business down there, and I've been doing it since 1987. Doing septic systems, house pads, roads, you name it. Just about done it in 40 years being in business.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I started in 86, but my brother was in the business before me, and back in my sophomore year in high school, I graduated in 78. So actually in 1976, I was installing complete septic systems for him.
Sweet.
You know, so really I've been doing this since 76.
Lifetime, yeah.
Yeah.
Your whole adult life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember he started probably about 75, because he graduated in 73. And, yeah. So, and I remember when he bought his dozer,
That was Guy?
Yeah, that's Guy. He was letting me unload it off the trailer and letting me work it out in the field. And I remember my first time I made a smooth pass at age 14, you know, I was running the dozer. I was used to backing up, and it's kind of like a roller coaster, you know. And all of a sudden I made this pass, and I was backing up, and all of a sudden I wasn't going up and down. I'm like, hey, what's going on here, man? And I thought, oh, wow, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Nice.
I was 14 years old.
Jeez. Well, that's pretty cool then. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
basically just grew up doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, my brother was, you know, my dad was in excavation his whole life. My brother worked a lot of union jobs and worked with my dad. I worked some union jobs and worked with my dad. Worked up on the North Slope with him. Worked up in Barrow, Alaska. Worked out on St. George, Pribilof Islands. And those are about the places I worked with my dad.
Nice. Some pretty spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memorable.
Yeah. Memorable. Cold.
I bet.
Prudhoe Bay, man. Every time it'd get like below 100, below zero,
God,
I would get out my camera and take a picture of the TV, because I worked night shift, and every now and then, man, you know, to get to 100 below, be about 30 below zero with about a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah. When it got to about 40 below zero, you usually wouldn't get wind, so you wouldn't quite get as cold.
Sure.
But, you know, hey, once it gets 40, 60, 80,
It's
100
all-
below, it's all cold.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Nothing.
And I was a service oiler out there, so, you know, I'm driving a truck, but as soon as I get to that equipment, you know, I'm out checking out that equipment and, you know, changing oil out there
Ooh.
every night. Supposed to do 3 oil changes a night. Tough.
Molasses.
Oh, yeah. You only had 20 minutes to change oil in a rig. You'd shut it down, and you'd have to change oil in it and get started, or else it'd get cold and it wouldn't start. So
they just leave them running all the time?
Oh, yeah. 24/7. All the pickups, all the equipment, everything.
Oh, crap.
Kind of have to.
Yeah. So.
And then you got, not only you got to do it fast, you got to do it with big fat gloves on and shit.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't want no exposed skin out there.
I exposed a lot of skin out there because you're underneath there and those gloves, you can't feel shit, you know. So I would take them off temporarily, you know, to fill Zerk fitting or whatever I need to do. I'd get them back on in a hurry.
Real quick.
Yeah. But no, it's cold, and I was like 20 years old. So, you know, my dad later on in life, he looked back at it. He goes, you know, son, you were only 20 years old, man. Hats off to you, because I don't know that many 20-year-olds today that would do that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, doesn't sound like you had a whole lot of choice. That's where your dad drug you. So.
Yeah. So, he actually got me up there on my first job between my junior and senior year when I was 17.
Wow.
I just worked in a shop up there, but I made $6,000 that year, and I came home and
thought you were rich.
Oh man, I bought a 70 Camaro SS, 396 Camaro, a 57 Chevy, and a 34 Plymouth.
Yeah. Nice.
God, can you imagine $6,000 buying three rigs?
No
Oh
shit.
yeah. I mean, yeah, my senior year in high school, I was pretty popular.
I bet.
Jeez. What was it like growing up down there? Now, you actually grew up in Eagle Point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since the first time we moved there was in 1969. My dad wanted to settle down someplace and let my older brothers go through their 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade year someplace, and they had a 4-year project there. And so my dad took it, and so that's when we moved there, was in 69. And then after 73, when they graduated, my dad moved us up to Battleground, Washington for a year or two. My baseball coach basically talked my dad into letting me move back down in with him. So I moved back to Eagle Point, played baseball, and moved in with my best buddy down there and lived with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were an athlete then, huh?
Well,
aspiring athlete.
You know, I had a really good throwing arm, that's for sure. I remember my junior year in high school, I was up on the mound there, and I was just pitching normally, and this new coach that got hired on, he's pointing this thing at me. I didn't know what the hell it was, you know, and I didn't know what it was. It looked like a big flashlight.
Yes.
And I continued to throw, and I wasn't throwing particularly hard, I didn't think. And I got off there, and he told me that what that was a radar gun.
Yeah, checking your speed.
And he said I was throwing 95.
Wow.
In high school?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So,
sweet.
And they didn't even let me pitch that year. The head coach came in and
They were
said,
probably worried about you taking someone's head off.
Yeah. The head coach came in and said, what's Heppner doing on the mound, man?
Yeah, get him out of there.
He's our first baseman.
Get him off there.
Yeah.
He's got a job to do.
But other than that, I mean, I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't, you know, there's always better athletes, you know. Yeah. And Eagle Point had its share of great athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've figured out since joining the family that that's a pretty tight community down there. I mean, I know a lot of people might not know who you are around here, but you talk to anybody from Eagle Point, Shady Cove, any of that area down there.
They all know you.
They if they don't know you, they know the name. So
yeah, you know, with my brother being in business since 1976, and me since 1986, actually 87. Yeah, there's probably not too many people that haven't heard about us or dealt with us, or, you know, and
yeah, every time I've ran into anyone that says anything about down there, you know, I just mention the name.
Oh, I know that guy.
And they're like, oh yeah, I know them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my sales rep for Leopold was stopped by not too long ago, and we got to talking, and he said that he was headed down to Eagle Point or whatever to he's going to stay there for the night because his girlfriend lives down there.
He wasn't staying in Eagle Point because there ain't no motels at Eagle Point.
No, with his girlfriend. He's
okay.
He's going to go see his girlfriend. And I was like, oh. And I said, my wife's family's all from that area. And he goes, oh, yeah. What's her name? And I said, you know, Heppner or Zomerdice or whatever. And he's like, Heppner. And he's like, got on his phone. He's on his phone for a second. And he goes, do you know this person? And turned the thing around. And it was Shannon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He goes, this is my girlfriend's cousin. And anyways, it was just funny. It's such a small world because he lives up. I think he said he lives up out of Bend area up there.
Wow.
So
yeah, and if you don't know the name Heppner, you know the name Zomerdijk.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is it a kind of unique name, but there's a lot of them Zomerdijks.
Yeah.
they're a big family. Huh?
Timmy Zomerdijk graduated with me. I mean, he had 8 kids.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I before Sarah and I got together, before I got into the family, when I was little, my family used to do, hunting trips, and, we'd have big hunting camps, and we did big Christmases and that kind of thing. And I thought we had a huge family, but, over the years, most of my family has passed away or whatever. And, I've always been, my part of the family has always been kind of the black sheep of the family. So we didn't do all the stuff that everybody else did. We'd go to Christmas or whatever, but we didn't really see each other very often. And then, I got with Sarah, and your guys' family is ridiculous. I mean,
the Zomerdijks, yeah.
both families, really.
Yeah.
Back when I first got in,
yeah.
a bunch of the Heppners would show up at everything. Too.
Right.
And, but I mean, family reunions every year, and holidays and other little trips. And then don't even get me started on how often she talks to everybody is
every day.
Yeah.
And my family, we see each other when somebody dies. I mean,
once a year.
That's when we see each other.
Couple times a year, yeah.
Nobody makes it unless you run into one of the family at the store
town,
or something. We don't even talk to each other. But so it was an adjustment, but it's pretty cool because I mean, like I said, you guys is there's tons of you guys. So.
Yeah. I lost my dad and my brother and my mother here in the last, my mom's probably been about going on 10 years ago, and my brother's been almost 2 now, and my dad's been almost the same, maybe a year and a half. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've lost a few Heppners.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been kind of sad few years.
And Sarah's dad, my brother Jake.
Yeah.
We lost him when he was 21.
Yeah, before Sarah even got to meet him. Yeah.
Well, Lydia, her mother was 8.5 months pregnant, and it was my brother's last day working on the job up there when he lost his life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sarah was...
and all you guys were there, weren't you? You and your brother?
No, my brother was up there, and my dad was.
Oh, okay.
I was only 15.
Oh.
And, yeah, I mean, he was hoping to come down. He'd be on a 2-week leave, and he's hoping to see his kid born, who ended up being a daughter, Sarah, during that 2-week leave. Mm. That's what he was hoping for.
Well, that's sad. Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories from.
Oh yeah.
Now he was an athlete.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
He'd have went pro.
Yeah. Yeah, but sounds like all you guys were kind of sounded like you all kind of followed in your dad's footsteps, though.
Definitely.
Yeah, with construction we have, and I think my middle boy is probably going to follow me right into it. My oldest boy's more of a machinist type deal, working with metal, and my youngest boy, he's just working whatever job he can that he doesn't have to deal with bosses. He just likes to be.
Is he still really into
by himself
physical fitness and stuff?
Oh yeah, he's crazy into physical fitness.
Hasn't he been kind of a personal trainer for a long time? So
he does a little personal training. He's built like a Greek god.
Was he, like a couple years ago, wasn't he doing the competitions on weightlifting? And
That's my oldest boy.
yeah,
All three of my boys have competed a little bit,
that's pretty cool.
but my oldest boy is the one that, like he deadlifted over 800 pounds before,
Just nuts, man.
while he was still a teenager.
Yeah, that's just
And
incredible.
that's a pretty incredible feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got a picture, Mike, I have to show you of him. I'll show it to you in a second.
Sure.
I'll get it out while I'm talking. This is him recently, and this is just his forearm. I remember one day he come up to me and goes, "Hey, Dad, I got 19-inch forearms." And I'm like thinking to myself, I've read Arnold Schwarzenegger's books,
Oh, yeah.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was 16, he had 16-inch arms, 17 arms. 19, he had 19-inch arms. And my son was still a teenager, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, I got 19-inch forearms." And I'm thinking, forearms, because that's not your bicep.
Yeah, exactly.
And
He goes, "I'm Popeye."
He showed me his forcep, and he squeezed his hand a couple of times, and I just like, oh my
Holy
God.
crap. That's a
Looking like Popeye. Yeah.
Oh, when you see this
a
picture,
normal man's thigh right there.
Oh, when you see this picture I'm about to show you, and this is him now, and he's only been working out just recently for less than a month, you'll see what I mean. It doesn't even look real.
This is Mike?
No, this is Nick.
Nick? Okay. Well, Nick's one that got the biggest.
Yeah, Nick was like, 6'2" and a half.
I was going to say, he was pretty tall, too.
300 pounds
Yeah.
and his prime. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've all three of the boys really got into physical fitness for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they've all been really fit at one time or another, and Zachary, my youngest, he's the one you were asking about. He's just a unbelievable man. I mean, back in the day, there used to be a guy named Frank Zane that competed, and that's who my son kind of takes after. Frank Zane wasn't as big as everybody. He competed against Arnold, but he competed at a lighter weight, maybe 200 pounds, but he was just proportional. And that's kind of what my son's after.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those, I mean, those guys are
Amazing.
put so much effort into it. It's crazy. I wish I had more drive to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd look kind of silly if you did that, Carlos, 'cause you're not very tall.
There's a lot of those bodybuilder guys are pretty short. You'd be surprised, dude. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That's Carlos.
That's amazing.
Does that don't even look real, does it?
Oh my God. That picture's crazy. Yeah.
Just imagine.
My thigh has never been that big.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Exactly.
So, what was it like growing up down around there? I know that you guys did a lot of fishing and stuff. So,
Yeah, I mean,
the Rogue River and all that
Yeah.
shit. And
I didn't do that much fishing myself. My dad got divorced and moved up to Alaska when I was young. Lost my brother Jake, had my brother Guy. Didn't really have nobody to teach me how to fish and hunt, So I started hunting kind of later in life a little bit.
I heard that you used to throw some pretty epic parties when you're.
Oh yeah. I remember my right out of my senior year there, my brother started a barricade business, alert sign and barricade rental, and he had probably a couple hundred barricades and some signs. And man,
this is for like events to keep people out.
Well, this was for construction sites.
Oh, gotcha.
Sure.
But I had access to them. And I lived right on Highway 62, which is the main thoroughfare right there between Medford and Eagle Point. I lived on that with my brother, and we had the creek back there, a sandy beach. And so everybody called it the party hole. And I remember I'd put up those barricades, like 50, 60 barricades out along the highway and leading back to the creeks.
Nice.
Everybody'd come party, man. They'd just see the flashing lights and follow it down to the party hole.
What is this? Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, everybody knew about the party hole.
That's fun.
So
Can't do that now. You'd
you
have to have a
can't
permit.
do anything now compared to what
No
we
shit.
did back then. The days of
Exactly.
cruising, what we got away with.
Even
Of course,
from-
I got 26 tickets my first year
Of course.
have my license, and
Well, you only had your license for like a year when you had those 3 cars, apparently.
well, yeah, exactly. But they kept threatening to take my license away, but there was a young 24-year-old lady that kept on threatening to take it, and I'd flirt with her, and she'd let me keep my license.
Nice.
I guess some things never change.
No.
She'd look at me and say, "George, you can't get another ticket." But back then, the cops would give you a ticket. Like I'd be in my brother's Jeep, and I'd chirp the tires, and I'd get a
Instant.
ticket.
Yeah.
That's,
Instant.
I mean,
That
out of
was
those
revenue.
26 tickets, I got 4 in one stop.
Straight revenue.
We had 4 girls pull up to us. I was in my Volkswagen, which is my first car I ever had. And that was bought by my stepdad and my mother. I was in a Volkswagen, and these 4 girls pulled up, and me and my 3 buddies are, trying to get them pull over, roll down the window.
Heck yeah.
And so I'm kind of gunning it a little bit, and all of a sudden this cop lights me up and pulls me over, and I purposely didn't give him my license because I wanted to give him a minor ticket to let me off with, And this guy, asshole, really, he gives me 4 tickets. One for trying to conduct a speed contest, one for no license,
Yeah.
one for not signaling during a turn,
Well, yeah.
and I don't know what the other one was, man. But
Stack them up.
I just told him, I said, you know what? Let's go out on the road here, and I will floor this thing. Let's go to the stoplight. I'll floor this
Yeah,
thing.
you show me I
and you
was
take off
racing.
your normal speed, and I promise you'll beat me. I wasn't trying to race these girls. I was trying to get their attention. Why would I try to race them in a Volkswagen with 4 people? But, those were the days we grew up in,
Yep.
But we had a lot of fun times. I remember one time I was in my brother's CJ5 Jeep, and we kind of were called the goat ropers out in Eagle Point. We were the hillbilly hicks, And Medford was a bigger town, And my buddy somehow talked the Medford cheerleaders into coming out and jumping in the Jeep with me. And so
Nice.
we went 4-wheeling that night. And after that, we got to know the Medford cheerleaders a little bit. And that was kind of unheard of, why they'd hang out with us hillbillies.
Damn goat ropers out there. Yeah.
But I remember cruising, the streets of Medford, and one of the girls I talked into hopping out on the hood, and she kind of had big boobs. So,
Of course.
I told her, Arch, Marcy Arch. And
Okay.
she was my hood ornament, and we're going through town,
Oh, nice.
And I was thinking about that a while back. I'm like, they don't allow you to cruise no more, of
No.
course.
Yeah.
But, we got away with that, and
We actually,
That's amazing.
Elijah, we call him our nephew. He's one of Sarah's best friend's kid. They were all up here, year before last, I think it was, during graffiti.
oh yeah, I was here.
And we were trying to explain to them what cruising was.
Yeah,
and they did
he had
not
no clue.
comprehend at all.
Why would anybody do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they got to actually go out and cruise.
Yeah.
And they sat on Harvard while all the old cars
Right,
were cruising.
right.
And,
Yeah.
and their minds were blown.
Oh yeah.
And then one of the guys that was cruising was doing burnouts.
Yeah.
He'd burn out and then throw a beer out to somebody on the crowd, and then
Yeah.
he'd go a little farther. And do
Yeah,
it again.
your
and they're
guys'
like, how's these guys being able to do this?
your guys' cruise up here is probably about the closest thing to back then that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been up here a couple times, and yeah, out there in Harvard, it's
It used to
It's
be
some
like that
pretty
every
good-
week.
Every damn weekend when I was
Right.
in high school and before
Right.
I was junior high and stuff. That's what Harvard was every weekend.
That's
It
what it
all the
was
nice
like, huh?
Cars, but
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, everybody, you see these nice cars now, and,
Yeah.
and these guys get out there all gray hair and 60 years old. You
Yeah.
know, it's like me. I've got some nice cars now, but yeah, I'm gray hair. And the only reason why I had those nice cars when I was younger is I got worked up in Alaska and
Yeah, you
made
could
that
afford 'em.
$6,000. You know. But
I mean, there was, the group of guys that did have nice cars, but most of the time it was just people with their parents' cars out every weekend. It was just, you couldn't get into a parking lot.
Oh, I know. That's what cruising was about.
And a lot of people, I think a lot of people think that all got stopped because of the police and stuff, which some of that's true, but I think cell phones and stuff killed it more than anything else.
The internet.
Because the whole purpose in cruising
was to
that
socialize.
Was the only way you could talk to some of those people. I mean, that's the only time you saw people from other schools and that kind of stuff. And then basically the whole point was to find where the party was that night. And now there's just a text message that goes out to a couple of people and everybody knows.
Yeah, it's a whole different world today.
Yeah.
But
It is,
it's like driving up here. I seen the old drive-in there on the right side before I got down.
I missed the drive-in
so bad.
Oh man, I tell you, me and my girlfriend talked about the other day, and the times we had at the drive-ins.
Yeah.
If
we had a frickin' blast.
A guy could probably make some pretty good money if they actually set one up. I would think.
For sure.
Yeah.
And,
especially if you did some of the more vintage stuff there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we had a blast at drive-ins, and part of it was sneaking 4 or 5 guys in your trunk.
Yeah, you always had to
Yeah,
bend the rules
one
a little
carload,
bit.
$5, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a carload. Just don't check my trunk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good times.
It did get better when you could listen to the movie on your radio, though.
Instead of the speaker.
Yeah.
The horrible sounding speaker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but you take a pickup there and a couple lawn chairs and a blanket, back up. Yeah, nothing better than that, man.
Yeah. Or freaking, they always had that little swing set and playground up underneath the movie.
Yeah.
On Pine Street,
during the
Pine
pretty much
Drive-In.
all of them did.
I don't remember the Starlight did.
And you could go up and you just hang out under the movie screen during the intermission.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Oh yeah. 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 They'd always have an intermission.
Yeah. Yeah, with the freaking dancing candy and shit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I miss those days. When I lived in Missouri for a while, they have right outside of where I lived, they had a drive-in theater that was still open, but they only showed classic movies. But we went there one time and they were having a Cheech and Chong marathon. They were showing like Cheech and Chong movies.
Right.
And that was so much fun. I couldn't sit through 3 movies though, but we went and
Cheech and Chong, how long can you watch 2 guys get high?
1.5 movies.
Yeah. I mean, that's
about what we made it.
Unless if you're getting high,
exactly.
they're only funny for so long.
Then it's just hilarious.
Yeah. And you still got to drive home. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was fun. I wish there was places like that. That RV park in Sutherland.
Yeah.
They still have the movie screen up.
In summertime,
during the summertime they show movies.
Yep.
Oh, that's
on
cool.
Like Friday nights or Saturday nights or something like that.
Yeah.
For all the people that are staying there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You bet, man.
My dad and stepmom, they live in their RV and they were in that park for a while and they were telling us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now they're not there. They're a different one now. But, yeah. So, basically, while you're still in high school, you started going up to Alaska to work.
Yeah, I did.
I've heard a couple of pretty cool stories from while you were up there. And I know the reason that you got started doing it was because that's what your dad was doing. But tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about how was Alaska back then. I know you were going to places that really they still don't have a lot of population. So,
yeah, I mean, that first trip up when I was between my junior and senior year, I was 17 years old, and my dad called me up and said, "Son, I think I can get you up here on the slope if you want," and I said, "Sure." So I flew up there to Fairbanks. And Mike, you say you grew up in Fairbanks?
That's where I was born, yeah.
In what year?
73.
73? Okay. So I flew up to Fairbanks in 77. I was 17 years old. I graduated in 78. I was 18. anyways, I flew up to Fairbanks, and my dad thought he'd get me up on the North Slope, and I had to spend like a week to 9 days down there at a local motel on First Street. And after about 3 days in that motel, I wanted to go, kind of explore. And so I remember walking down 2nd Street in Fairbanks in 1977. And let me tell you, man, it was like the Old West.
Yeah, you felt out
there
of place.
There were hookers on the corners of the bars. There were like guys with 6-shooters. There was like just crazy shit. But there was like quite a few jewelry stores, So I remember I was kind of looking. I'm 17 years old. I ducked into a jewelry store. And I don't know how much money I had in my pocket back then, maybe $200. I took that $200, I put it in my shoe. I got a bad feeling about this. It was like they're eyeing me up. I managed to make it back to the motel at night, and I called my dad up, and I told him that I ventured out to 2nd Street. He goes, "Oh, Jesus, son, no.
Don't go down there.
You don't want to go to 2nd Street.
That's the last place."
Oh, man, that was crazy. And, other than that, I've only spent time in Fairbanks and Anchorage, and then up on the North Slope, and, to places like Barrel and St. George. And they trucked us out to this island, supposedly. It's an island called Duck Island. It was all snowed over. I think we're out in the middle of the ocean someplace, honestly.
Well, if they trucked you, it couldn't have been an island unless it was frozen.
Well, they took us out on what was called a roll-a-gon. That's this big flatbed. I'll take a little more. Big flatbed with huge tires.
Yeah.
And it had like 6 of them, And they put the drill rig that I was working on that. And we headed out, and all I know is we was going to Duck Island, and we headed out, and it was a 6-hour trip, and the whole trip, it was a whiteout. We probably had 30, 40 mile-an-hour winds. You couldn't see 2 feet
like
in front of you.
Die.
Absolutely miserable.
And they're just going by their compass, and we're busting through snow drifts. Yeah, so I'm thinking we're going to die, And 6 hours later, we get to where we're going, and they unload us, and they take off.
They leave you there.
And they're like, they'll be meeting you, and they take off. We got this little track drill with a little cab that ain't big enough for one person, and we're on an eighth of tank of fuel. So my operator's in there, and I'm standing outside. It's 30 below zero. And I've got my gear on, and he says, "Hey, get in the cab." I'm like, "Nah, I'm fine." He goes, "No, get in the cab." So I got in the cab, and about 2 hours later, they hadn't come yet, and we ran out of fuel. And
Jesus.
that cab didn't have much of a heater anyway, but we were probably at 0 in there, And so an hour later after that, we're at 30 below zero in that cab.
You're starting to get worried there.
Yeah, and it's blowing pretty good. At that time, we maybe visibility 200 feet. But we're out in the middle of nowhere, man, with the snow blowing. Yeah, I thought it might be the end, And then all of a sudden, here comes this cat train, which is 3 cats pulling about 4 trailers behind it, all hooked together.
Sure.
And they show up, and they were there when they dropped us off. We could see them. And he says, "Okay, those guys are going to get you." And then they took off. And then that's when we were out there for 3 hours, wondering why they took off. And 3 hours later, the guy with the loader shows back up, and he comes on up and flashes his lights at us. And, our rig wasn't running, so it's hard to see us, And so he found us and apologized and said, "Oh, man, sorry. We took off and we didn't know you guys was here," So
Shit.
So Jesus, he took us out there the rest of the way, and
so they must have got back to
they're like,
base camp.
"Where's those guys?"
Yeah,
called back and said, "Hey, when are you dropping those guys off?" And they're like, "We did 3 hours."
Oh
ago."
yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
"Oh shit!"
And here we are out in 30 below zero, nowhere.
Crazy.
Man.
That's one of about 3 times I probably almost died up there.
Yeah.
Was that oil drilling, or were you?
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're drilling oil for oil.
Yep.
That particular time, we were going out there to dig 100 feet deep pilot hole, 36 inches.
Sure.
36-inch round,
Kissin.
100-foot pilot hole. And that was in prep for the drilling rig to come in.
And then they would drill. Continue.
Yeah, they would set up over it and continue drilling.
Yep.
So that was before the pipeline was even in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Half of it was done.
Oh, no. It was literally done.
Yeah.
95% of the pipeline was already installed.
Gotcha.
I got in on the tail end in the late 70s when I got in. It was already built, but there was still doing some more exploratory well drilling, or oil drilling. I mean, we were still building pads, and they were still drilling some wells. They hit some big wells after that.
That's what my grandpa, he was doing that. He didn't come to Roseburg until about 77. So
yeah,
he left straight from doing that job to.
Right. But, yeah. And so
That's kind of cool.
Between there and St. George and the North Slope, some interesting stories. I remember one time I was working out on a site where we were building these dams about 30 feet tall, about probably 100 feet wide and 30 feet at the top of the dam, and they're every quarter mile. And I was around during the building, but we were installing culverts, like these 12-foot culverts in them, so that when the ocean came up, the tide, it would slowly work its way through those.
Sure.
And that's what we were doing.
So they were like dikes.
They were like dikes every quarter mile. And I remember the boss driving by in his pickup, and he says, "Hey, man, it's lunchtime. Hop in. And we're going to move down here a mile," he said. And I told him, I'll just walk. So
shit.
He says, "Okay." So he takes off, and I'm watching him go over the first dike. That's a quarter mile. Second dike, third dike, fourth. I'm thinking he's going to stop. I watch him go over the fifth dike, sixth dike, seventh dike, eighth dike, ninth dike. He stops at the 10th dike, 2.5 miles. And I'm like, well, shit.
He goes, "That's the longest mile ever."
No kidding.
I'm thinking to myself, man, if I'd done 2.5 miles, I took the ride.
There goes my lunch break.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm like, well, fuck, I'll start walking. So I'm literally walking the first quarter mile, and I look to my right, and I would say, I'm not a good judge of distance, but I'd say a quarter mile away. I don't know how many yards that is, but a quarter mile away, I see this big brown speck.
Oh, fuck.
I know it's a bear. And I'm thinking, ooh, that's not good. So I walk over the first dike. I'm on the second, and I see him over there about the same. Walk over the third dike. He's a tiny bit closer. Fourth dike. He's kind of in sight now, so he's probably about 600 yards away, about 1,800 feet. And so I opened up my lunch and left it all there, and I thought maybe that'll distract him.
Yeah, shit.
So, so I went over
the wildlife.
I went over the next couple of dikes, and I didn't see him. So I thought, well, damn, I think that worked, So I'm over about 6 dikes now. So I'm 1.5 miles in this 2.5 miles. I got 4 more dikes, another mile to go. I walk over the next dike. I got 1 mile to go. And I see him. He's only about 400 yards over from me now.
Oh, shit.
And so I'm thinking, how fast can a Kodiak bear run?
Way faster than you.
Yeah. Hey, I ran track in high school. I figured I could hit about 18 miles an hour, but I figured he can hit 30 to 40 miles an hour. So I thought, well, if he comes at me, I need to get top of the dike and try to run downhill and see if I can outrun him. And so I go over the next dike, and he's literally 900 feet away. And he's a big sumbitch. And I go over the next dike. I'm 1/2 mile away from a small cat that's on this dike. And he's staying about 150 yards away. And I knew he could travel 150 yards in about, 15, 16 seconds probably.
10 seconds
if
he's
he
on
decided to. And so I didn't see him after that. And I made it to this little cat. This thing's a little D3 pulling, a little roller. And it's open cab. So the thing's only about the size, smaller than your pickup, Carlos.
Yeah.
And he's pulling this little roller. And I swear to this day, the operator that was running that thing was Carrot Top.
He got the bush.
Oh, this dude had the big bushy red, and it was Carrot Top. I swear. And I've Googled it. Did Carrot Top ever work? And I can't seize where he's dead, but I'm guaranteeing you this guy was Carrot Top. And so I told him about the bear. And he says, well, don't worry, man. Bears are scared of equipment. And right about then, that son of a bitch came up that dike. And he's literally maybe 120 feet away from us.
Jesus.
Damn.
And so I'm behind him on the cat. He goes, watch this. And he goes straight at that bear. And he stands up and he's flinging his arms and trying to look big, And that frickin' bear stood up on his back legs. And he's every bit of 10 foot tall.
10 to 12.
Yeah, 10 to 12.
Damn.
Big bear. And we're going right at him. And he's like growling. He's on his hind legs. I'm like, this ain't such a good idea.
No, he can jump right up here.
And so we kept going, and that bear went down on all fours and he went off and kind of headed off the other direction. I'm like, oh, thank God, And so we stopped there and we talking about it for a bit. And I got looking, and down another quarter mile is this D6 with a closed cab, and I'm thinking, that's
where I'm going.
That's a lot safer. That's a quarter mile away. And so I told Carrot Top there, I says, hey man, I'm going to run. I'm going to hop in that D6, man. I ain't getting ate by this bear. And so I got off and I'm looking and I couldn't see the bear, which surprised me because it's flat ground, and
sure.
I don't know where the sumbitch is. I to this day, I don't know where he went. He couldn't hide. I don't know where he went. And it had only been maybe 3 minutes, so he couldn't have went over to the next dike. And so I'm thinking, well, I ran track in high school. I think I could run a quarter mile in about a minute, if I remember right. And I long jumped too, and there's a kind of like a creek river down there, and it didn't look very wide at the time. I thought, okay, I'm going to have to long jump that, So I thought, okay, 60 seconds, George, you could be there in 60 seconds, And so I head off running and I'm hauling ass, and I'm running fastest I ever ran. And I jumped that creek. It's about 20 feet wide. I splashed a little bit at the end. And then I got about halfway and I felt the hair stand up in my back. I looked over my shoulder and I didn't see nothing, but I felt like that sumbitch
was right there. You knew.
So, dude, I ran, and I made it to that D6, and I hopped in. I told that guy the story, and anyways, so the
operator that was in the D6.
Yeah, I told him about it. We didn't see the bear after that, but I got back to camp that night, or actually that day, because we're working night shift, and the bosses came over and they're eating with us, and started saying, so I heard somebody, you seeing bear? I says, yeah, that's some bitch. I got dropped off and I decided to walk, and they said they're going a mile, and they went 2.5 miles, and the goddamn bear was watching me the whole goddamn way. And they're like, oh, wow, what'd you do? And I says, well, I made it to that little D3, and then I ran, jumped in the 6. They started laughing their asses off. I'm like, what? Why? What's so funny? Why are you guys laughing? Oh, well, we pulled up right behind you when you took off running. I'm like, what?
We were just watching you.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, pull up right behind you. That's the fastest white boy we've ever seen. I'm like, well, you could have honked the goddamn horn or something. Oh, Jesus. No. We're just laughing our asses off. And son of a bitch, you jumped that creek, man, and you were gone.
I ain't never seen anything like it. When you got a little motivation, the human body will do some things.
And that's a second Kodiak bear I seen stand up on his high lanes.
They're massive, man.
Yeah. The other time, man, we were in a truck. We went down this big hill called Ice Cut Hill up on the north slope. And I think you could probably research Ice Cut Hill. A lot of guys died on that son of a bitch. They just cut right through this mountain. They took all the tailings and made this big ramp. And
way too steep, bro.
It's steep.
Everybody lose their brakes.
Oh, it's crazy going up it. If you miss a gear and it's got ice on it,
fucked.
It's not like it had a guardrail, so a lot of people died, went over the edge.
And
We're at the bottom of that, right along the river, and seen a Kodiak. Same thing. The guy pulled the truck over and kind of antagonized him a little bit, and that Kodiak stood on its hind legs, and it was probably 10 foot tall. Growled a few times, and he jumped in the river, and I was waiting for him to pop up. I was waiting and waiting. I swear it was 2-3 minutes, and I seen him 500 feet downriver, surface.
yeah,
I was amazed.
hold his breath. The
That
whole time.
bear
Just like
held
a
his
person.
breath.
Yeah.
That whole way. It's just crazy.
Huh.
But, and I seen other brown bears up there, but not Kodiaks.
So after that, you were scared to get in the water too.
Fuck that.
I never got in the water in Alaska.
A little cold.
Yeah.
It's way too cold. But when I was working out on St. George, we'd get a day like today. What's it, maybe 58 degrees out there right now?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you got a 58-degree day on St. George, those guys thought it was a heat wave.
Yeah.
They're all Aleuts, they'd be out playing in the ocean at 58 degrees.
Jeez.
And they'd think it's a heat wave. And then if it got to like 70, I heard like when they traveled to Fairbanks and stuff, they just couldn't handle the heat.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it.
And I looked it up today. I was just curious because we worked up there in 86. I looked it up. There's 198 men, women, and children when I went up there. And today there's only like 64.
On St. George.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
St. George. So they've lost a lot of their population.
Well, probably half that population when you were there was there for working. Probably not as many
Yeah,
jobs
people-
now.
Yeah, they were locals. They were locals, and it's kind of funny. They'd fly in beer, and they had a room about the size of this room we're in right now. It's probably 8 feet wide, maybe 14 feet long, 8 feet tall. They'd fill that thing up with beer once a week, and it'd go dry.
That was
So they drank their share of beer there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I got some funny stories about St. George too, about my brother working up there and my dad. A lot of good times
Yeah.
with the locals and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, when Sarah and I went up there the first time, I didn't know anything about Alaska. I had what I envisioned based off of TV shows that I'd watched. And so
You went to Skinny Dick's, didn't you?
Yeah, we went.
I remember saying
our first
that.
trip. We went up on that, but yeah. So I went there, and I had all this. I had sweatshirts, and I had warm clothes.
for
packed.
cold. You were ready for
And
cold.
we got to freaking Alaska, and we landed in Anchorage,
Right.
and it was like 74 degrees. I was dying.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna die, and because I had no cool clothes to wear.
Right.
And then we took a freaking cab from the airport to the place where we were picking up our RV that we rented, which was ran by a freaking family of Mexicans. And I was like, what the hell? This is not Alaska. And I was like, it's way too
It's
hot.
supposed to be cold.
And I thought I was going to be the only Mexican here.
Hey, my brothers.
And it was
They're pretty diverse. up
but
there.
yeah, it was pretty cool though. I mean, I love Alaska to this day. Is like if we go on vacation, it's the only place I would care to go.
Mike grew up in Fairbanks. When I first went to Fairbanks, what really hit me? I've always been into photography.
Yeah.
When I was younger, huge, loved it. I feel like I could travel 10 to 15 miles outside of Fairbanks. Like I think it was the Chino Pump Road there.
Sure.
And I could walk out 200 feet off the road And I actually felt like I was the first man that ever stepped on that ground.
So wild.
It's still like that up there.
That's what I felt like.
Yeah, when we got up to... So, I've been to Fairbanks area twice now. The first time in the summer. Really ugly place. I didn't care for it that much. I mean, there was some cool stuff we saw there. But then the second time we went was in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I mean, that place is supposed to be winter.
I gotta agree with you.
With the everything white. And...
Yeah, well, it's just, you get up
including
there around...
the ice fog, right?
You get up there to Fairbanks area, everything's these bog marsh things.
Yep.
The trees are all those weird spruce trees. I call them Dr. Seuss trees.
Yeah.
Because they're all twisted and ugly.
From the snow.
And
like the roads.
Dude, we didn't... I'm sure Sarah's told you about when we discovered what a frost heave is.
Oh, like I say, the roads.
We're in the RV, right?
Oh, no
we're
shit.
in the RV, like you do. I'm going 70 miles an hour down the highway.
Wham.
And we keep seeing these freaking signs that say
Frosty.
beware or caution frost heaves or whatever. Yeah. And I even asked her, I've verbally asked her,
What's a frost
what the
heave?
hell's a frost heave? And she's like, I don't know. Maybe it's like snow drifts in the winter. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But no.
Bam.
They're jumps.
When I fucking launched that RV, every cabinet in that RV, everything that was in the cabinets was on the floor.
Yeah.
And it took me, I mean, that was some good defensive
well,
driving.
It
took me a quarter mile to get that RV back.
You're just fishtailing.
Because, I mean, not only is it fishtailing, but it's bouncing.
Yeah.
You can't get it to stop bouncing.
Oh, man.
The suspension's not made
at
for
that fucking speed. Yeah, I bet.
You were going a little too fast when you're fishtailing and bouncing.
I don't think I got that thing over 50 miles an hour after that, dude.
Yeah,
I was just barely cruising after that.
I'm not doing it again.
When we were on the Alaska Railroad, we took the Alaska Railroad one day, and we were talking to one of the other passengers and the conductor. And I was telling him about the frost heave thing, and I thought the conductor was going to.
He's going to lose it.
He was laughing so hard. He thought that was hilarious. And then the other guy, the other tourist that I was talking to, was standing there, and he's like, "Yeah, we learned the hard way too, but we were in a car, so it's okay."
Not too bad. 30-foot RV is a little worse.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, no, I just thought it was. I had never been somewhere that. I realized, I
better turn that off, huh?
If you need to take it, I can.
No, I don't.
Okay. No, I had never been somewhere and realized and had the realization that this place on Earth is made for winter.
Yeah.
Well, that's the truth too.
And in the wintertime, it's freaking gorgeous. I mean, that place is amazing.
Yep.
And
that's the only time I really spent up there because all my work
was in the wintertime.
In the winter. Yeah. The Tunder'd have to be frozen.
Yeah, just for the equipment.
To drive on it.
Definitely.
Yeah, which is nuts.
Yeah. All you guys go on vacation and shit. Sarah loves going to Hawaii and all that crap. That would be my only destination that I'd ever want to go to.
Alaska?
Yeah. I have no interest in going anywhere else.
I do want to go do Yellowstone and freaking Glacier Park and but I mean those are places that are similar.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
If Canada bullshit stopped, I'd like to drive through,
Dude, Canada's crazy.
Some places up there.
There's so much of Canada that's just nobody's ever even
I've been over at the dunes and I kind of befriended the guys next to us and stuff, and they're Canadians. And we got yakking one night, at the fire, drinking a little whiskey. And he invited me up there to Canada, and he said he had snowmobiles, and he said, take me top of this mountain. He says, George, I'll show you beauty like you've never seen before, man. And, it would have been so
I can see
bitching to take him up on that.
You should have done it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I've been invited places before, Carlos. I should have went many a times, but
You're a social butterfly. So.
No, I'm not. You give me a few drinks in me, and I
meet people in the random. I've had people come into the shop who met you. I think one of them met you in Hawaii or on a cruise in Mexico or something. And you were telling him about if he ever comes through Roseburg, he needs to stop at my shop. So he stopped here.
Oh, cool!
What didn't he? He wasn't even shopping for anything. He just stopped because
just to tell you that story.
And he had to tell me, I met your Uncle George, and he told me I had to stop. So I was stopping to tell you he's a great guy and tell him I gotta
throw out Umpqua Survival when I can, man.
Yeah.
Best place in town.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I meet people all over the place.
Yeah, no, I send everybody I know from Medford up here, man.
Yeah,
this is a place to get your guns.
Yeah, but it's just funny. Yeah, I hear stories about you meeting these random people.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm a little more talkative when you get a shot or two in me, but
of course.
Yeah.
I've
got some Indian blood in me, and tends to come out with whiskey.
Oh,
nice.
So you've been running equipment basically your whole life. You guys must have been pretty. I don't know. You must have had a good work ethic as a younger kid. Because, I mean, not very many teenagers would be like, sure, I'll go to Alaska and work all summer. Most teenagers would be like, screw that. I don't want to miss my friends.
Yeah. I started out thinking I didn't have a very good work ethic.
Yeah.
Because I started out haying for my first girlfriend's dad. And I realized what hard work is.
Bucking hail.
Haying.
Make a man of you.
For one. Oh, Jesus.
Dude, haying sucks.
Yeah.
Dude.
I did that for 2 days and said,
yeah. I probably hayed maybe a couple of weeks. I don't know what it was.
I think when I did it, we got paid like $1 a bale.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I just did this all day.
And it's usually 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And you got flies. You're stacking that hay in the barn. Those flies are landing. And I got a phobia over flies, dude. I fucking hate flies. I hate flies.
They're bigger than ants.
Mine's ants.
And so anyways, that haying taught me that, man, I didn't think I was a very good worker at first. But no, when I went up to Alaska and I started working up there, everybody up there said I was working too hard. They would slow me down. They would slow me down and say, dude, you're going to make us look bad. Slow down. And it's the first time I ever had that concept of, to slow down so you don't make people look bad.
Just to fit in. Yeah.
It didn't even cross my mind. I mean, I'm like, here,
you're there to do something.
Yeah. So, I always had a good work ethic. I mean,
how'd you get started running equipment?
Well, like I said, my brother had equipment when I was 14, and he took on a partner, and he got a backhoe, and so I would ask him if I could jump on his backhoe and practice, and he said okay. And I remember,
as any young boy would do.
Sure.
Everybody's fascinated with a tractor.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Hence the Tonka trucks.
So I remember he got his first job, and he had to dig on the side hill about 1,000-foot trench, and he felt a little nervous. My brother's partner, and he told my brother, he says, "Man, I don't know. I don't think I can do it." And I told my brother, I says, "Shit, I'll dig it." I told his partner, he says, "You'll dig it?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've been practicing. I'll dig it." So I dug that ditch for him.
That was on backhoe.
Yeah, I was only like probably 15 years old.
Nice.
And then after that, every time I got in a job, it seemed to be like I worked underground for my stepfather down in Sacramento. And every lunchtime, I would tell him, "Hey man, you mind if I jump on the backhoe?" And I'd throw a Coke can out there. And they'd all say I could, lunchtime, they don't care. And I'd practice squatting that Coke can, trying to stand it up, smash it, I did that, and then I got on a job working for a power company behind a big excavator, and every day at lunch I would ask him if I could run the excavator. And then it got to where during hunting season, he let me run it for about 2 hours while he'd stink off and hunt. So I'd run that.
Nice.
And then when I got working up in Alaska, basically the operator up there, I was an oiler. So I was working with a guy on a excavator. He got drunk and didn't come to work, so they told me to jump on it and run it. And then when they figured out I could run it probably better than he could,
this is your job now.
I started running that.
You got promoted.
Nice.
Yeah. So my whole life's been kind of like that. I worked on a drag line before, and that operator disappeared, and I told them I can run this thing, and they're like, "You can run it?" And yeah, so
nice.
Not only was I an oiler, but I was operating it and running it. And I remember one time I was on that drag line and just dredging out this kind of like riverbed, and I remember one time I was on it, and I'd already piled up, about the amount of gravel I was supposed to pile up in, and I didn't want to make day shift look bad, so I had a pile as big as him, and there was two guys there, an oiler and an operator. I was just one man. I had my pile of gravel already up, and I'd already piled up more than they had in the past, and kind of got throttled back saying, "Hey man, you're making us look bad." So I had my pile up there. I had a couple hours to kill, so I seen this big iceberg floating by. It was probably 20 feet long, 20 feet wide. So I cast my drag line. A drag line, just a big crane with a bucket. I cast it out there just like a fishing line. You spin it, you swing, you let go of the lead line, you cast it out there.
Sure.
You catch the, iceberg, and you stop the cable, and then you start dragging it in, and I drug this iceberg in, and I was playing around with it there, and I had it up against the machine, and anyways, I got bored with it, so then I'm trying to get the goddamn iceberg casted back out into the river, and I couldn't get it, I kept trying to swing, kept trying to swing, and all of a sudden I'm trying to swing, I look behind me, and my bosses are behind me flashing their lights. I'm like, oh shit.
You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, so I got out and hopped in the cab with them, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, big iceberg floating by, and I snagged it. Yeah, we seen you snagged it.
You're like, oh, you've been here that long?
Yeah.
I've been trying to push it back the whole time.
Trying to push it back.
That's awesome.
And they're like, you're not in trouble, man. You've been doing a great job. You're doing what day shift's doing. You're doing it all by yourself. You're good. Don't sweat it, man.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. But, I always had a good worth ethic. Jeez, I can't even say the word. Ethic. After about 86, I decided my kids were, my youngest was turning 2, and my youngest was turning 1, my oldest was turning 3. It was time to,
settle down somewhere.
Settle down. Yeah, that was my goal.
Yeah.
So I came home, smoked a lot of weed.
Medford was the spot.
Didn't work for 6 months.
Nice.
And the old lady told me it's time for you to go to work. And so I went out and approached my banker and said I wanted to borrow some money for a backhoe. And he says, all right, fill out this application showing where you're working. And I says, well, I'm not working. That's why I'm trying to borrow the money for the backhoe. He's like, well, George, you got to show your income. And I says, well, I'll have income if you give me this loan. And he's
like, that's not how any of this works.
And I remember my ex-wife telling me I was crazy for thinking I could get this machine, I ran this idea past her, and she thought I was silly. But she's the one who told me she's tired of seeing me on the couch.
Right. I'm just doing what you said, babe.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get a job. So, I went to the people selling the backhoes, $11,500. And I talked them talked them down to 9,000. And I said, okay, if the bank calls, I want you to say it's 11,500. And they said, it is 11,500. So that's what we'll say. Well, this banker had previously told me on a car loan, he explained to me how it works. He says, George, we don't like to loan 100%. We like you to have some, something in the game. So when I went to him, I said, okay, I got $2,500 down. I need to borrow $9,000. It's 11,500. He goes, okay. That's when he asked me to fill out the paperwork, saying what job I had. I says, I don't. But if you give me this backhoe, I says, I have work lined up, and I'll work 10 hours a day for 30 days at $30 an hour, and I'll make $9,000. Same amount I'm asking you for. I'll pay you back in 30 days. And he goes, yeah, okay. Basically does all the math there and everything. And says, okay, George, we'll see you. And by 2:00 that day, he called me up and he says, come get your check. I said, how much is it for? He goes, $9,000. That's what you wanted, right? I says, right. So I picked up the $9,000, took it down to the people selling the backhoe. Gave it to them. They're like, oh, full financing, huh? I said, yep, you bet. And I drove that thing home that night. And the wife was rather surprised because she thought I was nuts. All in one day, I ended up going out and getting a backhoe. And
loans don't work that way anymore.
No.
Well, yeah. But 15 days later, I brought home a check for $4,500. I worked 15 days straight at $300 an hour. Hand it to the wife, and she's like, wow, what's this? So I says, $4,500. She goes, well, how much do we owe in fuel? I said, we don't owe anything because I've been filling up a Jeep can and packing fuel in. She goes, how much is our payment? I says, it's $380 a month, but I still got another 15 days, and by then I'll have another $4,500. She goes, wow, it's like more money than we're seeing in ages, And so another 15 days go by, I get another $4,500 and make my $387 payment. I go to the bank, and the banker told me when he gave me the loan, he says, George, do us a favor. We don't want paid back in 30 days. Yeah. We want to make some interest on you. But that's a story how I got started. That's my first machine.
All right. I'm going to pause for 1 second. But anyways, we're back. Yeah, we were talking real quick at the break, but yeah, we were talking about how you find the cool stuff and you like to talk to normal people or whatever. And but yeah, like when Sarah and I were up there on our first vacation, she had all this stuff not planned, but she had all these different things figured that if we get a chance, we'll stop at this unless something else is cooler type of thing. But when we go, like Sarah and I, some people go on vacation and they want to eat at fancy restaurants and go to these big places that everybody's heard of and all this stuff. Sarah and I go on vacation.
Just
and
the opposite.
Find dive bars.
Just
and
the local.
Yeah. We'll talk to some old dude that's freaking nursing a whiskey at 4 a.m. and ask him what we should see.
That's what my dad always did. That's what my dad loved to do.
Stuff.
Every time we went on vacation, man, he'd go in the local bar and talk to the locals.
Yeah, actually, when you were asking about skinny dicks,
yeah,
that same day we stopped at a restaurant not very far past Skinny Dicks, which, by the way, Skinny Dicks is a place where you stop and check it out,
right,
and then keep going because you don't even really want to get a drink there because it's so. It's
never really, been there.
It's
just
really pretty nasty. I mean,
heard
the place is dirty, and it's not dirty. It's just really old,
right?
So I mean, and the way that they build things up there, you can't. I mean, there's rafters 30 feet up in the air. You can't get up there and freaking dust that shit.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of nasty, and I mean, you can get a beer there or whatever, but you're not hanging out there for hours. So, I mean, we checked it out. We got one of their freaking, I can't remember what they call them, but it's basically a hand towel for cleaning up after sex.
Oh, shit.
Just because it was hilarious, so we had to get one. And we put our freaking dollar
on the wall. Yeah.
We did all that.
Yeah.
But not very far past that, we stopped at a little restaurant, and we were getting some food. And there was only 5 or 6 people in there. And we were asking the waitress, where can we see some like real Alaska, like a native village or whatever, which you really can't on the main highway. You gotta get off out. But this other lady that was there eating, she's like, oh, if you want to see, she's the one that told us, you can't see a real native village because you're on the highway. She goes, you have to take a plane or whatever.
Right.
She goes, but if you want to see the closest that you can, I can't even remember that. Sarah remembers all this stuff. I have the worst memory ever, but she's like, you got to stop at this place. She goes, you'll get there you guys could probably get there by tonight, but she goes, you don't want to park your RV there because somebody will break into it while you're there. She goes, but you go here, and then she's telling us she goes, you go downtown. She goes, you got to go to this bar and order a drink. And I was like, yeah, they got good drinks. She goes, no, they're horrible. And
they're terrible.
I was like, then why do we want to stop there? She goes, you said you wanted to see real Alaska. She goes,
that is
and I
as
said,
real as it gets.
So it's a cool spot. She goes, no, it's a total shithole, but you're going to freaking love it. And I was like, okay. And she goes, the bar is so old and it's flooded so many times that you almost have to hold your drink the entire time because it'll slide off the bar. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. And so we did. We pulled down there. We went and checked this place out. And I can't remember the name of the town, but they have it's the place where they do the famous ice breakup gambling thing every year.
Okay.
Where basically they take I can't remember what it is. They put something out in the middle of the river on the ice, like a tripod thing.
Yeah.
Right, and it breaks up.
And when it falls,
everybody bets on it.
Whatever day that is,
it's the big breakup.
I think it's like down to the hour.
Yeah. And they place bets.
Yeah. Anyways, it's wherever that is. So we went there, but it was the way this lady described it.
It was awesome.
I mean, I was like, so this is authentic Alaska. She goes, it's as close as you're going to get on the path that you're on.
That's awesome.
And I was like, so it's pretty neat. And she's like, no, it's a total shithole. And she goes, and she even warned us. She goes, make sure that you don't stay there at night. Don't leave your RV unattended for very long. They're going to steal all your shit. I mean, she made it sound horrible, but the way that she said it made us laugh so hard
that you had to
that
do
we
it.
absolutely had to check it out.
Right.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's the stuff that you get when you talk to the locals. And
yeah. I mean, like when I flew up to Barrow and worked up there, I think that was probably early 80s.
Yeah.
And Barrow, Alaska back then, I mean, they didn't have no underground. They just had shacks.
Yeah.
And, you're talking true Eskimos up there. Man, Barrow, Alaska, you can't get no further north. I remember when I showed up, my dad had me pee in the ocean there and said, that's the furthest north you can get, son.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And, we were digging in underground tunnels called utilidors through what I would call the town just a bunch of shacks, and we dug about 15 feet deep, and you put in this structure underneath there, and they would run all their power, telephone, gas everything
lines,
there, and that's what we were doing.
That's cool.
But I remember seeing this truck, and I asked Dad, I says, what's that truck, Dad? I see him picking up 5-gallon cans, taking out. That was called the honey bucket truck.
The honey bucket truck.
Their bathroom was 5-gallon buckets.
Shit in a bucket.
Shit in a bucket.
Because everything's frozen. You can't just throw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy would go in there and pick it up and dump it in his truck and go on.
We go and burn it.
Yeah. And that's where I showed up as a oiler on a piece of equipment, and the guy was a drunk that I was working for, and he got kicked off the job, so they told me to
run it.
And
that's awesome.
I was digging, lines from each house out to the main line. You know, that was my job, and they were hooking up sewer to them. Yeah, and those people never had sewer in their life, you know?
Dude, can you imagine how awesome that'd be?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what do you mean I don't have to go outside to shit?
Yeah. Oh, you mean in a bucket?
And then I remember after that job came home, and I think that show came on 30 Days of Nights.
Yeah.
About vampires in Barrow, Alaska.
Yeah.
I watched that. That was crazy. It shows them down in the Utilidor that we built. Shit is pretty
like,
nuts.
Hey.
That was actually a pretty good movie. I remember that.
Yeah. I rewatched that one time. It was a good, for vampire movies, I liked it a lot. It was crazy. Like,
you're like, I'm so glad I didn't watch this when I was there.
I know.
I would have been home immediately.
No shit.
That's funny.
But, you know, I got to know a few of the locals there, not many. But I got to know more of the locals up at St. George.
Yeah.
And they call them Aleuts up there, you know, basically Eskimos, I would say, you know. And like I said, 54 degrees, they're out surfing in the ocean, you know, it's crazy, you know. But
was that where your dad got that walrus tusk?
No, he got that before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But out on St. George,
that walrus tusk should come to my family.
You think so?
Eventually.
That was probably up in Barrow where you got that.
Okay, I'll wheel it to your wife.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll
have her put a piece of tape on the bottom of it.
I got two. I got two of them.
Yeah.
So
when Jake showed me that, I thought that was one of the coolest things I ever seen.
Is it engraved or anything? Or?
Yeah, both of them are engraved.
That's my grandma had one.
Neat.
Yeah,
just neat.
Yeah. But St. George. I mean, I was out there for a total of 6 months, and after about 2 months out there, I seen a local place up for rent. I asked my wife if she'd be interested in moving out there with my two kids because she's staying in Fairbanks. She said, yeah. So we rented a place there, and I flew her out there. I actually flew into Fairbanks and then
picked them up.
Flew my two boys and her out. And we rented a place there in town. And I got to know the locals a little bit. And nicest people you'd ever seen. Yeah. You know, like you say, you were looking for a village, you know, with Sarah to, you know,
that's
experience.
Where it was, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, living in that, you know, I got to experience kind of village life, you know, and
that's kind of damn cool.
It was pretty cool, you know. I told you I was into photography, you know, and St. George has some of the rarest birds in the world.
Oh yeah,
you know, I'd read about them in books and stuff, and so there's cliffs out there, you know, and I'd be hanging off a cliff with my Canon AE1, you know, taking pictures, and taking them back to my wife and say, "Look, this man, I think they were called puffins or something like that. I got a picture of this puffin, man." I look in the book, you know, and it's just
sweet.
That's cool.
Yeah, shit like that. And I remember you ever remember the Subaru Brat?
Yeah.
Yeah, little bitty car with like a pickup. Had two seats in the
jump
back.
Seats with handles.
Yeah. The lady I rented a house from, her next door neighbor had a Subaru Brat. I said, "Hey, man, what are you doing with that?" He says, "I'll rent it to you." So I think I paid him like $150 a month. So all of a sudden I had a car. Well, you got to realize on St. George, I think it's 9 miles from one. I think the island may be 13 miles long, but the roads are about 9.
You can drive every road in 15 minutes. Yeah.
So, you know, it's like but you could putt around, you know.
Sure.
I think it's about 5 miles wide. And I remember one time we're out putting along. I had two kids at the back chairs. They thought that was the coolest thing.
Neatest thing ever.
You know, and my one kid was not even 1, but my other kid was 2. So he was old enough to, you know, and there'd be seals everywhere, you know. And I remember this one time there were some seals fighting. So I stopped, and it's beautiful up there. It was green with flowers and stuff, and you guys are old enough to know who Jacques Cousteau is.
Oh yeah.
And I believe this was Jacques Cousteau himself. I think he had a son, but I don't think it was him. I think it's Jacques Cousteau. He was out there with his boat doing an exploration.
That's cool as
National
hell.
Geographic
And
thing.
so his boat was like in the harbor. It wasn't in the harbor, but it was by the harbor. And then these seals were out there. And so my son, I placed him out there, and I had telegraphic photo lens. So, that brings everything in the background, multiplies it times 2. So it brought the boat, which is a quarter mile back there, halfway in. I brought the seals, which were probably 1,000 feet to 500 feet. Then brought my kid in. So I snapped the picture. And
looked like a child abuse photo.
oh, yeah. You're right. It looked like the seals was right behind him. It's Jacques Cousteau's boat, And, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That was kind of like a special memory, just remembering that and stuff.
That's awesome, yeah.
It just really got to experience the local life.
Just the lifestyle.
I got to talk to a lot of the locals, like at the grocery store and stuff. And it's just was way, way different. But what I remember, my takeaway was a nicer people you'd never meet in your life.
Well, I think when you live like that, you don't have any choice but to be neighborly.
But, I mean, literally no crime.
Yeah. Well,
everybody there respects everybody.
If you do something wrong, everybody knows
about it.
Well, nobody do anything wrong, Carlos. I mean, 198 men.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why there's no crime.
Well, yeah.
If you did something, it's going to take 5 minutes to figure out who it was.
Yeah. But it was really unique. And running the equipment there on that island, I mean, I was running the biggest backhoe in the state of Alaska. It weighed 500,000 pounds, so 500 million pounds.
I didn't even know they had backhoes that big.
Yeah. They had 2 of them on there, one with a bucket for moving the overburden and one that I was running with this big fork on it. It was called a pick, and it's about 10 feet long, and they'd blast the walls, and I would tickle the rocks on down to be loaded to put on we were building 2 dikes out in front of the harbor so that boats could come in and zigzag through the dikes and come into the harbor safely without
the waves.
Without the waves. And we were trying to get rocks that were about probably 8 by 8, 6 by 6, and 4 by 4. They call them number 1s, 2s, and 3s. The big ones were 1s, the mediums were 2s, and the smaller ones were 3s.
And nowadays, you don't really even use backhoes at all. You use mini excavators.
I do. I switched to backhoes to mini excavators about probably 12 years ago. I was down at Seven Feathers about 15 years ago, and I was pulling the 1-arm slots, and I met a guy named George. And
easy to remember.
Yeah. I mean, my name's George, so I'm like, hey, George, what do you do? He's like, I'm an excavator. I said, well, I am too. And so we got yakking there, and he's telling me about he bought a mini excavator. It's the coolest thing he ever had. He says, we can build a road. We can dig ourselves in and load the trucks and bring a load and build it right behind us. Told me I had to get one. So I took his advice and got one and loved it. And before you knew it, I bought a second one and I sold my backhoe. And I've never really turned back since. Yeah.
Nice.
And since then, we've got a track skid steer, and they replaced a dozer. So I used to always run a backhoe and a dozer. Now I just run a skid steer and a couple of minis, and I have a big excavator too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I never, so I know some things, are kind of like hereditary, but I didn't realize that jobs could be. And, but I've learned over the last decade or so that some stuff's just kind of in your blood.
Yeah.
Like I thought maybe it was because that's what you see your dad doing or whatever.
I'm going to be like dad type of, yeah.
But like my son, my son Jacob.
It's in his blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't learn it from me because I don't know how to operate a piece of equipment for the
sure
life
as hell
of me.
didn't learn it from his dad.
Yeah. And his dad didn't do that either. But I mean, in his teens,
he's got some Heppner in him.
In his teens, he saw his uncle do it.
He just
which
fell
was
in,
Andy,
fell in love with it.
So he played around with him a little bit, which really he didn't even do anything. He just kind of sat on his lap, and then he just, I don't know, when he finally got into a job where he could jump in a piece of equipment,
With Marty, yeah,
he just started like he knew how to do it. And then, he worked for you for a while and did stuff. Right. And it's funny because, like, he's told me stuff about, like, he was on a job and they asked him if he knew how to run, I think it was a grader.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I ran one for about 15 minutes one time. So I know how to operate it.
He ran one with me.
He goes, I know how to operate it, but I
took over to my buddy's house and I let him run it out in the field.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know that I really know I know how to run it, but I don't know that I know what I'm doing.
But he told me he picked it up like super fast.
Yeah. And it's crazy.
He told me, he says, Uncle, you gotta see me on a grader now, man. I'm good.
So, I mean, it's obvious that some of that stuff is in your blood. I mean, you're just a natural ability.
Not everybody's a natural.
No, that's what I'm saying. Some people.
Jacob's a natural.
Yeah. Definitely.
And he loves it. I mean, some kids love playing in the sandbox more than other kids.
Yeah. Some
kids will play in the sandbox and want to go play soccer. Some kids, they're building roads and tunnels in the sandbox.
Yeah.
I mean, that was me. I used to joke. I used to say, back when I was younger, I says, you could put a Playboy down beside me or an equipment magazine.
And that's the one
I'm going to pick up the equipment magazine. Now, maybe not when I was 18.
Yeah.
But once I turned about 22, I would pick up the equipment magazine. It's just, it's what I would rather look at,
Yeah.
It's just, it's in your blood.
That's good.
I saw a video online. And they were talking about hot business ideas for modern times for now. And one of the big ideas that they have that they think is going to be a big thing is they make a bar with a giant freaking sandbox in the middle
and
of
let
it.
people play.
With a bunch of RC freaking power equipment.
You bet.
Where guys can go in there and buy a beer and sit there and play with an RC car, excavators and stuff.
Especially if they were like full size, man. Could you imagine an arena?
Yeah.
That was 200 by 200. You had a 50,000 pound excavator out there and you're controlling that.
Well, they do the, I think they did it during one of the rodeos here. It was the tractor rodeo.
Oh, yeah.
And
have you ever been to World of Concrete in Vegas?
Yeah.
I haven't.
So World of Concrete.
That was actually on, they had that televised.
The World of Concrete's usually going on the same time I'm there for SHOT Show.
Okay.
It's almost always the same week. And they have a giant heavy equipment rodeo set up in the middle of it.
Oh, they do.
Yep.
And I don't know what they had a freaking giant ball. I think it's made out of concrete. It's probably the size of my truck. And these guys are bowling with it. They're using excavators to bowl with it.
Oh, man.
And, it's huge. And they have this huge area. It's like this big rodeo. Every piece of equipment you can think of is out there.
Show.
Yeah. They got all these people out there. And then in the middle of it, there's a giant bar. So all these guys that are doing it are drinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, World of Concrete, it looked pretty neat. First year I went to SHOT Show, I could see that rodeo from my hotel room window. And then I figured out that was a shitty hotel and I haven't stayed there since. But yeah, that's always going on. So I've heard some good things. Our friend Doug, he used to go to it all the time when he used to work for Knife River forever. And they used to send a bunch of people to that every year.
And these kids doing all this gaming today, you kind of think in back your mind, you just wasted your lives for gaming, but
you're learning a skill. Hand coordination.
I hired a few guys before that were gamers, and let me tell you, man,
they can jump right in and do it, huh?
It translates into the controls of these new machinery.
It's whole.
They have taught me a little bit. I mean, I have been amazed at the ability like this one guy, I hired him, and I said, okay, you got to come over to my house and try out. And he's kind of thinking, what do you mean, man? So I had this helicopter thing, and it went around in a circle, and you had to add power forward, backward, and pick up little guys and shit like that. And me and my son had been working on it for a week, and we could kind of do it decent. And so this guy comes over, and I says, all right, man, here's the goal. Got to fly this helicopter, pick up these guys, drop it.
This is an interview?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, what the?
And he frickin' just nails it. He picks up the guys, flying around, drops them off, flies the helicopter back, parks it. I'm like, wow, impressive, you know? I'm like, how'd you learn to do that, man? He says, I gave a lot, you know? And
Xbox 360 right here.
And his earlier tryout on the job was not good. It wasn't good. I told him to dig a hole 2 feet deep, 8 by 12. I says, you know, it's just mocking what a septic tank could be, but it'll be 6 feet deep, 8 by 12, but I only want you to dig 2. So he comes over. For one thing, it took him 15 minutes to unlock the boom, and he should have known how to unlock the boom, but he didn't. And so he comes over half hour later, says, okay, I dug the hole. I went over and looked at it. It's a round hole, maybe 18 inches deep. I said, okay, so what part of this is 8 by 12 by 2 feet deep? And he's like, well, you know, hey, man, I just kind of did what I did. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when I had him come over and fly the helicopter, and he amazed me at that. So I hired him the next day. My dozer operator says, what'd you tell the guy? And I says, I hired him. He goes, why'd you hire him? I can run a backhoe better than him. And I'm like, you know, I have premonition, I guess. And
he can fly a helicopter, though.
yeah.
If he can do that, I can teach him how to do the rest of this.
I'm telling you, man, that guy ended up being, he was phenomenal.
A good operator.
Yeah. And it's like my son, Michael. He's a really good gamer. He's, you know, I've seen him play games, and I got into games a little bit myself back in the day. And we were some
Atari
of the,
doesn't count.
No, not Atari. We're playing MCO, Motor City Online. We were famous on that. And anyways, my son was in the top 10, and basically I would call the world. But when I say world, I mean a lot of overseas. That shit's crazy. Yeah. You're talking people.
Yeah, online's totally different.
Yeah, and he was really top 4. And to watch my son operate now, that transfers, man.
Yeah.
The coordination it takes in gaming transfers over into what we're doing.
Yeah.
It really does.
Makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you love your toys, man.
Yeah.
I've got quite a few of them. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, I don't know if I know anybody with more toys than you got. So you are.
I know a few.
I know you're a speed freak. You love freaking fast cars. So you got
fast cars, fast
you've
quads.
had drag cars. You've had
fast
drag
toys.
bikes. You've had lots of stuff.
You still have all your sand toys? Or?
I'm back to acquiring more. Yeah. I sold them for a little while, and now I'm kind of acquiring them back because I realized my boys.
You got the side-by-sides now?
Yeah, side-by-side, a drag quad, a couple other quads.
Sweet.
Carlos, I'll sink to the bathroom.
All right, one more second. All right, we're back. Back again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we were talking about toys, though. But yeah, over the years, I've seen you have everything from freaking boats and RVs and classic cars and hot rods and quads and side-by-sides.
Yeah, I've had a few.
And obviously that started when you were a kid, because you started right off with, well, they weren't classics then.
They were just fancy cars.
They were just barely even used cars back then, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you got, I don't know, my friends that have hot rods, it's kind of born in their blood, just like you mentioned Jacob, you know. It's born in his blood, you know. Either it's in your blood or it's not. You know, it's like you with guns.
Guns aren't in. I wasn't even a gun guy till I came to work.
But
here.
my God, I'd hop in your trucks and shit. It's like more guns
everywhere.
than I've ever seen.
Rolling store.
I go to your house. It's like, dude, you know. But everybody's got what they like in life, you know. I mean, when I was raising my kids, I kind of had to sell all my hot rods. You know, you have to raise your kids. You got to
priorities, yeah.
You know, and so once they get out of the house, you know, you start looking at, okay, what am I going to do? What makes me happy? And for me, hot rods always made me happy.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to collect them, and I tried, but every time I'd get one, winter'd come, and my wife would tell me, we have to survive, and so I'd sell it. And then once I got divorced, I didn't have nobody to tell me I had to sell my hot rod anymore. And so,
well, and surprisingly, you probably had a lot more money.
Yeah.
I've been divorced a couple times. I know how that works.
My money was my money then.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like, you know, and so I decided to buy every hot rod I'd ever sold back. I made a pact, and I did. Every frickin' hot rod I replaced. And I still either got them today, or if I sold it, I bought a better one.
Yeah.
And my goal is to end up with them all paid for, which actually I pretty much have accomplished. And to have them when I retire to enjoy, you know, to own them.
Yeah, when you retire, you're gonna
nothing wrong with that.
Freaking semi truck, so you can haul them around to car shows and.
Yeah.
Get one of those semi trucks where they convert the whole cab of the truck into like a little RV.
And
that'll probably be my next purchase.
Double decker to stack your cars in.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
You trade one of your dump trucks in.
I don't got room for your.
None of my cars.
In my house.
None of my cars, though, Carlos. They're not going to win any big car shows. They're drivers.
Yeah.
You know. If I can't drive it down the
but you know,
highway, I don't want it.
You go to car shows, though.
I do.
And a lot of the cars, that's what a lot of them are. Because these are, I mean, I know when we do graffiti here,
right?
There's a big group of people that they either drive that freaking car or they trailer it and have like a little RV or something that they're hauling it with. But they just go from car show to car. That's like their life. That's their retired life.
That's
is they go from
do
car show to
all
car
summer
show.
long.
Yeah.
And their car's not going to win any shows.
Right.
But
it's still
they
nostalgia.
like that.
Yeah.
That atmosphere.
That community.
Definitely.
And
you know, they follow that community and they go from car show to car show.
Yeah.
And they probably winter in Arizona or something. And
I mean, I've been to Klamath Falls car show.
Yeah.
They have like 15 divisions. They have, you know, convertible. Like, I have a really beautiful 67 Impala convertible. It might win in Klamath Falls under the convertible.
I'm going to take that out next time I come down there.
Well, you're welcome to. You and Sarah can take it out and cruise up to the lake or something like that. Jacob cruised up the lake with his girlfriend last time he was down.
I know. Jacob had to send us videos and pictures every time he took anything out.
Did he?
Every single vehicle. Yes.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. And that, in fact, there was one week when I'm pretty sure he drove something different of yours every day. He thought that was the coolest thing ever.
But anyways, at Klamath, my cars could win, some divisions there and stuff. But, winning a car show is not what I'm after. I love old hot rods and I want to drive them.
The nostalgia.
And if you drive them, you're going to get chips on them. Rocks are going to hit it, your paint and chip them. And if you have a single chip in your paint, you're not going to win a big car show. That's all there is to it. So that's why people don't drive them. I'm never going to have a car that I don't drive. I don't believe in that.
Well, that's just like me. I don't have any guns. I won't shoot.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't believe in it.
In fact, my employees, my employees shoot my stuff more than I do.
Right.
And, you know, a couple of them, you know, they're like, hey, do you care if could I borrow that maybe for a weekend? I'm like, just, yeah, anytime, dude, take it. And
that's like Dominic wants to borrow my SRT Neon.
Yeah.
For prom.
Yeah.
And I told Sarah tonight, no problem, man.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, things are meant to use.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're meant to use, and I don't have time to use it. So, I mean,
go ahead, right?
You know, yeah, great, do it. Plus, it helps because for me, it helps with the business because then they've gotten to try something they didn't get to try before, so they can talk to customers about it. You know.
Well, that's the truth.
Yeah, and so that's what it is for me.
Yeah,
but it's cool. I love it. I love a lot of your stuff is freaking cool as hell. But the classics, I like that, and I'm the same way. I would totally
they're to drive.
Yeah. I can picture myself in that freaking Impala with a big fat cigar in my mouth.
And a fedora.
That Impala just looks like it should have you in it.
And a fedora.
Carlos, that car looks like you.
Wait, are you trying to say because I'm Mexican?
No.
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard.
Although every Mexican I see tells me, man, the sheet of bags, dude, raise it up, make it jump. I'm like, it don't jump. I got no bags on it, man. I got no electronics.
I would never do that, but
whatever.
I do have it lowered 2 inches, and I got 11.5 meats underneath it, and it's cool.
I love it.
I think if I had the money to do something, I really like the resto mods. Like a freaking classic,
like
but it's got all the new
chipped food stuff.
Like it's got a new freaking undercarriage in it, and
you know what?
Regular stereo.
You drive this Impala. I did put new tubular A-arms all the way around.
It's a fucking smooth
new
Cadillac
shocks,
ride.
new springs, all the way around. First thing I did with it.
Yeah.
That improves the ride. I dropped it all 2 inches. I put 11.5-inch tires inside the fender wells on the back. I didn't have to shorten the rear end or anything. They fit. And that's amazing.
Hell yeah.
Most
so much
cars
room
you
in
can't
there.
get 11.5 inches underneath there. I put AC in it. It's convertible, but I put AC in it, factory. I put a killer stereo in there.
Yeah.
And so you're talking, nice stereo. But the rest is all original. I mean, that thing, original dash, original 300 horse, 327 Chevy, original 67,000 miles. So it's not a resto mod. It doesn't have the aftermarket digital gauges or nothing. It's all original, man. The steering wheel, the gauges, everything's original. So when you hop in it, you feel like you're transported back into 1967. The motor stock, only thing that's not stock is the pearl paint, the tires, the lowered. Sure. Other than that, man.
I've told you before, I used to have a 73 Nova, and mine was hot rodded out a little bit. I mean, it had a big block engine in it, and it had
396 and
it was a
454.
Was it 454? Yeah, I think it was a 454. But it had bigger wheels and tires on the back, and then low profiles and a smaller rims on the front.
Right.
And I had air shocks in the back, so it was all lifted up.
Right.
Not the opposite California style where the front end's freaking higher than the back.
You didn't like that donkey stuff?
No, Nova looks good when it's rigged like that.
And it was funny because when I had
you know well off that I just sold my 73.
I know.
Nova.
I can't believe you sold that. It was horrible.
That was...
But yeah, no, I had that forever, and I moved to Portland when I had that car. And it was funny because everybody I met in Portland, I hung out with a bunch of Asian gang members and stuff, and they all had these little Ricer Hondas and and lowriders. That's what all of them drove, and they had some very nice. Some of them had some money. Those kids had a lot of nice cars, but when we would go downtown to cruise or go to a party, they all wanted me to drive, and we would fit 10 people in my freaking car and go
in your Nova?
In my Nova.
Wow.
And
Asians are little.
Yeah.
There was a lot of girls.
Oh, I get it.
No, they all wanted to take my car.
What color was it?
It was emerald green.
Oh,
with lots of freaking metallic.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
It had the old Bass Pro.
One side of it had been rubbed against a guardrail. So one side of it had a bunch of crinkled dents.
Yeah.
That I had never gotten fixed. But otherwise, it was beautiful.
Huh.
And it had no lock on the freaking trunk. So I carried around a butter knife with me everywhere because you just
That's
stick
how
it in
you
there
got the
and
trunk.
turn it. Yeah. And I had... all it had was an AM/FM radio, so I had a big boom box that I used to carry around with me, and two of those big things of cassette tapes,
D batteries,
D batteries, and cassette tapes, and that was my stereo system. I'd crank that thing up, and I'd have to pull over to change the cassette because I had it in the back so that nobody could see it sitting on the front seat.
Well, you're welcome to take my 67 anytime you want. Man.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and that thing, oh, rumble you out of the seat, man.
Yeah.
I've had girls sit in the back seat that said that thing did something for them.
Nothing wrong with
You're
that.
like, as long as you don't get it on my fucking upholstery.
One of my best friends is riding back there with his wife, and she's like, oh, this is better than the, I think they have a Victory. She goes, this is better than the Victory.
Oh. There's a totally different feel in those classics though from modern cars.
Well, when I bought that and my girlfriend Valerie was riding in it, we were cruising in it, and you float at 40 miles an hour like we were driving through Reno to where we were camped. The old Buicks, the Cadillacs, the Impalas like that, they
full
float.
size. Yeah.
They float. They don't drive, they float.
That's where
If you've ever been in an old Cadillac or an old Buick,
people have that term, they call them boats.
Yeah, exactly. And they ride like that. They're described about, they float. They don't drive, they float.
Well, I remember my Nova, when you start getting it, I'm pretty sure I think I got it up to like 120 one time.
A Nova doesn't float.
But once you freaking got it up, the wind would get underneath it and you would be changing lanes without, like you didn't mean to change lanes. It just
that's a lot to do with your rake too that you had on that sub bitch.
Yeah. But
and you got that thing jacked up a foot in the air, Carlos, like you did in the back. Dude,
it looked cool as hell.
Single
you want to know the
spring,
worst?
Have you ever seen an airplane wing?
Yeah.
An airplane wing is shaped about like you had that Nova when you had it jacked up
skinny in the front.
I'll tell you, one time though, I took a bunch of my friends.
Oh shit!
There was I think I probably had 8 people with me. And we went downtown. We went to a party. We're cruising back when I lived up there, and we were out. I lived in Beaverton, so we were driving out to Beaverton back. We're heading home, and one of my airlines fucking popped. And I mean, we're driving, and all of a sudden, it's all because my freaking ass end dropped on my fucking tires, and so I had to stop right there. Pulled off to the side of the road. Luckily, right down the street was a freaking auto parts store. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to run down to the auto parts store and grab some airlines and fix my car real fast. All of my friends that were with me abandoned me because right next to where we were pulled over was a freaking Red Lobster.
They
all went into Red Lobster and freaking had dinner while I was
walked to the
auto parts store, came back and repaired my airlines. And about the time I was done, they came rolling out of the freaking restaurant.
Hey, do you need any help?
Already done. I was like, thanks for the help. I didn't want any food or nothing.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the worst when that happened. Yeah, but it was fun. I love that car. And then I owed my mom some money. And I moved to Diamond Lake for a while when I was that age. And when I went to Diamond Lake, I had potentially put myself in a situation where I could be in trouble if anyone saw my car. So I left my car at home.
Yeah.
And I rode with my buddy to Diamond Lake when we moved up there. And since I owed my mom money, she sold my fucking car while I was at Diamond Lake.
Oh, shit.
For way less than it was worth.
Yeah.
Right.
$1,000.
And then, so I came home, find out my car's gone. And she tells me, well, now you don't owe me any money and here's the keys to my Granada.
Oh,
And I was like, hell no.
oh,
So
man.
I let her keep the keys, and I told her to sell that stupid Granada and get me a pickup, which was a mistake.
Yeah. Should have took the Granada.
I ended up with a Ford Courier with a diesel
Courier.
that topped out at like 45 miles an hour, and it sounded like a lawnmower. It was horrible. But yeah, no, so that's what happened to that car. One day, I plan on having another. I don't know if I'll get that exact same thing, but
73 Nova.
yeah.
You know, the guy that sold my 73 Nova is putting it back up for sale.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that on Facebook.
So you might end up with your car back.
You know, I asked him what he wanted for it. He didn't reply. I love that car.
Yeah.
Man.
You put a lot of money into the engine.
You did.
Yeah, I actually love that car.
Well, that was the beginning of you getting back into those.
Yeah, my brother had a 74 Chevy Nova hatchback in high school, and he'd let me borrow that, you know, and his hatchback.
The hatchbacks are turds.
I know, but they have a hatchback, Carlos.
Yeah.
You and your old
pretty
lady
rare.
could, like, cozy up in the back.
Yeah.
You know? Nothing
Dude, if
like
I freaking crawled in somebody's hatchback, I'd need somebody to help me get out. I'm too old for that shit.
Well, I meant when I was like 17.
Yeah, but we're not 17
at the
Jordan.
time.
Oh, I know. And this was, my car's not a hatchback.
It's just memory.
And yours was just like mine. It had the trunk and
Yeah. I just, you know, I sold it for 20, and I just put a brand new motor that was worth $5,000.
I was going to say, pretty radical motor that you put in there.
No, I actually put a Summit Racing 4.25 horse,
Sure.
350.
It's not your
can
ever-
run on pump gas.
It's not your ever run of the mill,
But it's a pump
motor.
gas.
Yeah.
It's a pump gas.
at one
motor.
point though, you had a blower on it and everything.
Well, no, I just had a built to the hilt 355 high compression, and I pulled that out and sold it, and I put that gas motor in there so it'd be more drivable.
Gotcha.
But that gas motor runs like son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It's a strong runner. It's a really cool car. If anybody listening's interested in the 73 Nova, this guy is selling it for, I believe, I sold it to him for 20. He's probably going to sell it for 20.
Yeah.
Well,
Beautiful car.
Just get a hold of Carlos and I'll hook you guys up.
yeah.
Yeah, if anybody's interested. It's gorgeous. It's bright blue, white racing stripes, bench seat that I put in there. Super nice rear end, super nice tranny. Beautiful.
It didn't
car.
have bench seats in it when you were when you were dragging it.
racing.
It had race seats in it.
Obviously had
But
buckets,
you know, I turned it into streetable. That was my goal.
Bench seats were the
So
best thing ever, dude.
I put a bench seat in there, and I had to have it customized a little bit, a little notch in the center for the transmission. But yeah, no, you're right, Carlos. Best thing ever happened to Nova.
That's how I had so many. I had 13 people in my car at one point.
I know. My brother's Nova was a bench seat. That's how I knew I wanted a bench seat.
In fact, when I right after I got that car, we crammed 13 people in that car and drove it all the way to freaking Tokenie Hot Springs.
Yeah.
And one person may have rode all the way back to town naked. But
Maybe.
yeah,
May have rode back naked.
yeah.
You got a
Because,
towel, right?
well, her clothes disappeared at the hot springs. We don't know what happened to them.
Did she ride the front or the back?
She was in the back. I was driving.
Oh,
so,
damn.
Her or him?
It was a her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that car, you could fit so many people in it. It was amazing. It was
I
so
would have
fun.
never known. I would have thought 6 people max.
Oh, no, dude. We crammed some people in
Ha.
there. Man, it's like hot rod day out there
No
today.
kidding.
Yeah. In the summertime, it's gonna be interesting in the summertime because right across the street over here,
Yeah, I've seen that.
they've got a dyno.
Oh, they have a dyno there?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they'll run cars on the dyno, and then they'll bring them out on the road
And
and
just
And
hot
run
rod
them?
down the road. And
I'll
hot
be
rod
down.
back. And yeah, so
I'll be damned. Okay.
it gets pretty loud out there sometimes.
Yeah, I might break some of my cars up.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I got a few of them dynoed, but I got my motorcycle dynoed and my little SRT dynoed.
Nice. So what What other kind of toys are on the bucket list for the future?
You know, I recently bought my drag bike. It's got an R1.
Yeah.
Yamaha 1000. 185 horse. I have to learn how to ride that. I mean, that's kind of like my adrenaline rush, you know. I had it over the dunes once, and the sprocket was a little wore, the chain was a little wore, so it didn't quite perform like I thought. But I recently now I got a good sprocket, good chain on it and stuff, and you know, that thing's nuts.
Yeah.
I had it over the dunes. Oh, it scared the shit out of me.
That would be considered
185 horse and a little 500-pound quad.
That's considered a straight line quad.
Oh, it
no corners.
You know what? It's rideable as hell.
I know, but
it's rideable as hell. It's got about $3,500 worth of Elky shocks on it.
Wow.
It's actually, I rode the dunes with it. I did everything. But I just was afraid to launch the thing.
Oh, well, hell yeah.
You know, at high RPM, I'm afraid to look down the tack and see where I'm at when I launch it.
You need some wheelie bars.
But the guy sold it to me. He says, just hit the rev limiter, $12,000, and launch it and bump third gear and you're done. And I've only took it out once. I'm not brave enough to do that.
Sure.
So
I think I could do like a sand rail, but a quad, I couldn't do that.
Too much work.
You know, what that thing's about, my girlfriend is scared to watch me and ride it. And she says, I'm never going to watch you ride it. I told her, you know, my generation grew up watching
Fast.
the Road Runner and Coyote.
Yeah.
You know, and the Road Runner always outrunning Wiley the Coyote.
Yeah.
You know, and Wiley the Coyote coming up with like rockets he would strap himself to catch up with the Roadrunner. And so
you do remember how that wound up?
Never good.
Yeah.
Never good.
Not for the Coyote.
Always like over a cliff and crashing. But
boulder on his head.
Like I explained to her, I says, you know, they brainwashed us.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to strap myself to a rocket.
I want to do it.
And go as fast as I can. And that's what that thing's for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never had that adrenaline thing.
You didn't ever have that want?
I had the want, but every time I started trying to do it, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
When it comes to speed,
different. Like I could drive a car fast.
When it comes to speed, I can't get enough.
Yeah. I like being enclosed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I guess if I'm going to die, I want to be in the coffin already.
That false security of, I got a cage around me.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. A sand rail or something I could do. But like, I've tried quads and things, and I just can't even make myself go that fast.
Our buddy, Doug, he still is into the sand drags with the Banshees and shit. He goes everywhere. He's our age. And
I've had some pretty big Banshees.
Lots of our friends now are into the side-by-sides and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, definitely. Yeah. And you can get big money in those things. Yeah. My gosh. You know, I got a buddy's got every
twin-turboed
fast toy. Yeah, he's got twin-turbo Corvette motors. In his...
I just don't... For me, I always looked at side-by-sides and quads and that stuff as a piece of equipment that you use for, like, hunting. And a side-by-side is as big as a small truck. Yeah, I mean, why Jeep, I'm like, you're not going anywhere. You can't go with a truck in that thing. Why would I need
might as well get a Jeep.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, I feel like my Jeep, which is my girlfriend's Jeep, I feel it's just like an overgrown side-by-side.
Yeah.
And I take my truck, which is giant.
Damn near the same
I take my
wheelbase.
truck where people take Jeeps. So,
and that's a good hunting rig. Well, you wouldn't take your truck where I take my Jeep.
Yeah.
Because your truck won't go where my Jeep will go.
I don't know. I might surprise you. My truck associates as a Jeep.
The long wheelbase.
Yeah, it thinks it's
not
a goat.
Follow me. But I got a winch. So,
it might hit some trees or something.
I will winch you out.
You just got to do it faster.
You got a winch on your truck?
No,
not yet.
Oh my God!
Will,
how can you go anywhere without a winch?
I'm an old man.
He's got confidence.
I don't even use 4-wheel drive. I don't use 4-wheel drive unless it's an emergency.
Oh, you get everywhere in two. Oh, Jesus! Okay.
Four-wheel drive is for emergencies only.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, honestly, me and the boys, we rode quads when we were younger, and I took my youngest and my middle boy out this last year. We rode the dunes, and my youngest commented to me, he says, "Dad, that's the most fun I've had since back when, I was a teenager and we did it." And that kind of pull up my heartstrings.
You always want to recreate.
So I went and got one more quad, and so now I got 3 quads and a sand.
So everybody can go out.
Side by side, so everybody go out. I'm hoping Jacob will come over there too, and maybe you guys and Sarah, and, just get back into the sand dune a little bit.
Yeah.
Because really, honestly, it's all about family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anything you do, we'll take the cruise, like you say, maybe bring up my cars and cruise.
I think that'd be fun as hell.
Well, I'll bring up my cars and cruise this year. It's all about camping at your house and staging from your house and sitting by the fire and family. That's the best part of a cruise.
The whole experience.
And over at the sand dunes, the best part is the nighttime back at camp, man.
Definitely, 100%.
The toys are great, but honestly, they're a great reason to get the family together.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people do. That's
exactly.
They get the toys just to bring everybody together.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what my plan is. That's
no, that'd be cool.
That's what I'm after. I just trying to hit on something that the boys would love to do and would, basically show up for.
Yeah. Sarah's always been trying to get me to, she's always wanted quads and stuff because she grew up doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I never grew up with toys, period. I mean, we didn't have anything. And to this day, every time I do get something, I end up selling it because I want to do something else. Or, I'm like,
rig.
It's been sitting there for a while, so I'm going to sell it and get this.
I better get my money's worth.
And, I don't know. I never keep anything around. So, but there are some things I'd like to have in the future, and one of these days,
Well, you were asking me what's next in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't see a lot next in my future. I see just enjoying what I got, Well,
weren't you saying at lunch you guys are going to go to that auction again this year?
Yeah, but I'm not looking to buy, Carlos. I mean,
unless there's another convertible.
No. My buddy
you couldn't walk away from him. You kept turning around.
My buddy said he might buy. Well, I was ready to buy.
I know.
I was ready to buy.
That's the way it works.
Honestly, I mean, sometimes in life you just got to stop and enjoy what the hell you have, man, and not want for more.
That's true.
I mean, that wanting for more that's not a good. I mean, that's stopping and saying, let's enjoy what I got.
Yeah. That's true.
I hear you.
Have to do that.
I hear you.
And I'm to that point. I think
that's a good spot, dude.
I really want to have some family time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's next for me, hopefully.
Yeah, that's a fun time.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I've been, every chance we get, I'm always, Sarah sits around at home a lot. I mean, she doesn't get to go work and freaking do that stuff. She's at home. So when I have days off, I want to relax.
Yeah.
Or I want to have
the family.
I'm like, hey, let's try and get the kids over or whatever. And she's like, I just had the kids over. I don't want to see them. And so for me, I like it when we get all the kids and grandkids together.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it's only for an hour or two.
Yeah.
But that's an hour.
But you don't want them for 3 or 4.
I don't.
1 or 2 is perfect.
I'm good with them for as long as they want to stay. It's just, I don't.
You don't get that throughout the week.
I don't get that chance. So.
Yeah.
So I look forward to the family time. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't. I like just relaxing and having a drink and a cigar and doing whatever.
We repower that little fishing boat I got.
Dude, your little fishing boat's scary as shit.
That damn motors.
We're back on here.
God,
by the way.
I hate 2-stroke motors.
You got a little 2-stroke in your fishing boat?
Yeah, that little one that
It honestly, it ran fine.
it does, but
It's not made for two fat guys. Like one of you stands up, the other one feels like they're going to capsize.
yeah, it's just that little 16-foot boat.
Oh, it's a 16?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so
Temperamental.
what's that?
I said it's temperamental.
It's good. It looks nice though. You did a good job restoring it.
It's just got an old motor.
Yeah. Put one of those big giant diesel motors
There
on
you
it
go.
that use.
Yeah.
The whole boat just sinks because the motor.
Sit 6 inches out of the water.
I'd have to put pontoons on the side of the boat.
Just to hold it up.
We need to get your boss in here on the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll get him drunk and I'll talk him into fucking donating.
There
a boat
you
to
go.
us.
That won't happen.
You never know, dude. You got to try.
I know.
You don't get nothing that you don't ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, back to George here.
Sure.
Since I've known you, which has been like 20 years now,
Plus.
it feels like it hasn't been that long, but it really has. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you like to travel a lot. You do a lot of traveling.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm
and
always
you
hearing
really-
about you guys on a trip.
I know
somewhere.
you started your life out just going to the frozen tundra, but now it seems like all you like is the sun and the beaches. So you're a Mexico guy. And,
Well, I'll be honest with you, Carlos.
Anywhere in the tropics.
Earlier today, you and Mike were talking about if either one of you went on vacation, you'd be cold bound Alaska. That's the only place you're interested in going. Me personally, that's the last
place.
It's got to be sunshine and warm for me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to swim on the boat. I want to swim in the ocean. I want to have either a Mai Tai or
some drink with an umbrella.
Yeah. Hopefully, like a reggae band in the background singing to me. Somebody hula hooping in front of me.
Yeah.
Warm climate, sand.
we are so opposite.
Toes
It's
in the
not even
sand,
funny.
dude. Yeah, we are. My whole class reunion, 78, went on Alaska cruise this year. I'm like, sorry, if you guys change it to Mexico, I'm
there.
But yeah, no, I didn't go. And
I hear you.
it seemed like they had a pretty miserable time. It was colder than shit. They couldn't. They have pictures of them at the iceberg up there with their coats on and stuff.
And your comment on the photos
No.
Your
The
comments
picture
were,
should
that's
be
why I
on a
didn't go.
a beach with my toes in the sand with a drink in my hand, man. Listening to Kenny Chesney.
Yeah, I don't like sand.
You don't like sunshine, Carlos.
I don't. I hate the sun.
You're always in the shade, dude. You do not like, and you don't do well in the sunshine.
But I'm cool with a freaking bonfire. I could sit by a bonfire with a cigar and a glass of whiskey.
Sweating your ass off.
It'd be warm as shit.
But
me
you will
too.
not sit in the sun.
Me too, but I ain't going up to fucking frozen. Excuse the language.
No, you're good.
I don't.
I'm not going up to a frozen land, freezing my ass off to get out and look at an ice glacier.
That's awesome.
When we took Sarah's grandma up to try and see the Northern Lights, we went up to Fairbanks.
Oh, and I've seen a million Northern Lights, dude.
Yeah.
I've seen a million of them.
I've never seen them up there where you can see them with your naked eye.
I have.
Yeah.
And I tried to film them. Yeah. I've got pictures of them, and you just can't capture them in picture. The only thing I can do
now you can only see them with a picture.
Well, I've seen pictures now. Somehow they're capturing them, but I was told back in the day in '86 when I was taking pictures of them, only a painting can
give you the true
you the true colors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've got one crazy Northern Lights story I want to tell you, but I want to hear what you were about to say.
Oh, I was going to say we went up there. It's not a Northern Lights story. We went up there
just
so that
for
we could
her.
see the Northern Lights. freaking clouds never went away the whole time. And then the day we left
was the best.
The day after we left apparently was one of the best
night
views they've ever had in years.
Wow.
But once again, the temperature was predicted to be negative, like
around 20.
Single digit to negative.
It takes about negative 20 to negative 30 that I've found for the Northern Lights. That's best temperature.
So the temperature was, like I said, the temperature was supposed
it's got
to
be negative.
Single digit to negative something.
Okay.
And so, dude, I bought like a freaking polar weight beanie, and I bought some freaking underoos.
You're ready for the
I was
cold.
Ready for the cold.
70 degrees.
No, it was -2. I think most of the time it was like -1, -2.
Right.
But it's not the same as here as it is in Alaska. It was dry.
No moisture.
Yeah.
And I was running around in t-shirt and freaking jeans because it was warm. In fact, I made snow angels in a t-shirt and jeans. And in front of our little hotel room that we had. And the other part is there was no ice. Like here, it gets to be 32 degrees and you got to watch out because you're going to slide off the fucking road.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going 70 miles an hour down the road and it's just powder flying everywhere. I mean, there was no ice anywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, I got so overconfident, I went to turn around.
Because there's no moisture.
Yeah, I went to turn around and I just kind of pulled into a snowdrift and I was just going to turn around.
No.
Well, I got stuck and I couldn't open my window, so Sarah and Lydia had to climb out of the windows of their windows and dig us out. While me and Wiener were freaking in there having drinks.
Don't get much better than that.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel bad. I would help. But,
the wife and the mother-in-law is doing the work, and
exactly.
Okay.
Me and Trina and Nanny are all sitting there having freaking cocktails in the car while they're out there digging us out
That's awesome.
by hand because we didn't have any tools.
That is awesome.
Yeah. No, what was your Northern Lights thing? What do you?
I told you earlier I was hugely into photography.
Yeah.
When I was up there, I had a Canon AE1 and I was just taking pictures and pictures, documenting them. And every night I was fascinated with Northern Lights.
You said you like to take pictures of guys and equipment too.
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you that story after this. But I would sit up every night with my tripod,
trying to
just waiting for the
and
Northern
my
Lights.
parka on outside with my head, with my finger on the trigger because I had a cable, right? And I've got my camera on the tripod. And, to take a good picture, you can't move. So I got on a tripod. And I would sit out there for hours and hours. From midnight to 2 o'clock, I was outside 6 or 7 days a week. I was just a fanatic about it. I just, that's just what I did. I loved the Northern Lights. And so one night I'm out there and I seen them coming. It was like this big ball rolling across the sky. And I mean, when I say a big ball, I mean a big ball. And so I tried to yell at my wife. And I yelled at her as loud as I could. I says, come here. And so then I opened my aperture and I started snapping pictures. And I think I could snap a picture every eighth of a second. And this ball came rolling across the sky. Just like a big, massive ball. Rolling across the sky.
Of color or what?
It had color and it had yellows, greens, and pinks and whites. But it was a massive ball. And it got literally almost above me and it split into 6 or 7 arms like an octopus.
Uh-huh.
And it started it went all out over the sky and just yellows,
dancing
greens, pinks, whites dancing in the sky. And she didn't get out there until the end of the ball rolling across. I think she might have seen a tiny bit of the ball rolling, and she's seen it spread into 7 different arms dancing across the sky. And it was just, I don't know how many people seen it that night. I would guess probably nobody, because who's up at 1 o'clock in the morning?
That's like a once.
But
in a
I
lifetime.
seen it.
Yeah.
I seen it, and she's seen the end of it. I seen the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got photos of it, but photos don't do it justice.
Yeah.
You know, you can't catch the Northern Lights in a picture, because a picture takes a split second to record, and it blurs the fine lines that are Northern Lights. They're like a million fine lines, and pictures that looks like a blur that's not that way in real life. And that's why a painting, I've seen paintings of the Northern Lights that are amazing.
Pretty spot on, yeah.
But lately I've been seeing pictures of the Northern Lights
Like
that
digital.
are pretty cool. So I think photography has advanced.
Yeah.
Well, they've got
Definitely.
the, like night mode and stuff that
On your
Right.
captures more light
on your
And then
digital.
a
Well,
lot
I
of the-
had all that shit. You know,
Well, a lot of the phones now.
I had the ASA 400 versus a 100 for nights and stuff, you know, and lower aperture, quicker shutter speed.
Well, and a lot of them are actually, they're not taking a picture, they're taking a video and then
Right.
breaking it into a picture.
Well, I think you're right,
Yeah.
Carlos. I somehow,
so they can catch those
somehow
lines.
they figured out how to get more lines in the photography these days. But it used to be paintings is the only way to really see Northern Lights. But I wished you'd have seen them, because,
Oh, I'm gonna.
dude, man,
Sarah thinks we're done with Alaska for a while, but we're not.
but you're not.
You're like, nope.
I guarantee you, seeing the Northern Lights,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
it's,
We're done with cruises to Alaska for sure. But
are you?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever do a cruise again, but Alaska, we're not done with it all.
You'll fly up there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Northern Lights are special.
Yeah.
I is one of my neatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I could never see enough of them. Trust me, I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah. I'd really like to drive and go up through Canada and spend some time in Canada too. Because, I mean, if you've never been to Canada, there's
some beautiful
so
places.
much of Canada that has like no people. Like there's the west side of Canada, the east side of Canada, and the border of the U.S.
Yeah.
The rest of Canada is just open land with
million
nobody in it.
lakes. Yeah.
So I mean, it's insane.
No, that's
Land of lakes.
Yeah. So I'd really like to. The only thing that sucks though is, I don't like doing things without a gun, and Canada's not big on that. In fact, they don't even like you having a big knife.
I heard they might be the 51st state.
So I might have to find I'm gonna have to find a that would be
I heard that
that would
too.
be
Mike.
all right, dude.
That would be interesting.
I would totally go visit.
Along with the Gulf of America, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It'd be all right. But yeah, so I might have to befriend somebody in Canada that's got some guns I could borrow while I'm there.
Yeah.
How long you plan to be in Canada?
I don't, dude. It depends on how much.
If you're
money
just
I
driving through, it takes about 2-3 days, dude.
have. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'd
The
like to spend
Alcan.
more time than that if I can.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no. So that'd be fun. That'd be fun to do. But yeah, so I've seen that you like to do some traveling. I know you've done some Mexico trips.
Yes.
I know that you've done some cruises. You like cruises?
I love cruises.
Yeah. I can see I thought I was going to really dig it because I like the idea. I don't have to drive nowhere.
Well, you went to Alaska, dude.
Yeah, but still.
Have you cruised in Mexico?
No, I don't.
Have you cruised Caribbean Sea?
No.
Then don't judge
The
cruises.
sun comes up, dude.
Don't judge
I'm
cruises.
not
You
down
can
with
stay in your frickin' room, Carlos.
I was hardly in the room.
You can sit under an umbrella. You can stay in an air-conditioned bar, which is
I did that
on
a lot.
the ship.
I did that a lot.
Yeah.
Where at?
On the ship?
In Alaska.
Yeah. I was good. I wasn't cold or nothing.
So are you judging a cruise and saying you never do a cruise again?
It had nothing to do with the cruise itself.
You'd never done a Caribbean cruise, dude.
the ships are all the same.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
no, they're not.
The
ships that are
this big around, George.
The ships that are cruising out of Portland and where you boarded to there compared. Yeah, they're tiny, Mike. You're right. They're teensy tiny, man. We're talking ships with
twice or 3 times
water slides.
No, our ship had that. Our ship had almost 6,000 people on it.
How long was it?
I don't. It was way bigger than all the other ships at every port we went to.
Was it?
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. It had.
Okay.
It had.
So if you tell me you don't like cruises, I'll believe you don't like cruises.
It had nothing to.
You did one cruise and you decided you don't like cruises.
Nah.
Well, so there's not.
Mike, you ever done a cruise?
No.
If I was a young guy,
why not?
I've been on a ferry.
Do you want to do a cruise? Have you ever considered it?
Alaskan cruise. I'm not a people person.
Don't do Alaskan cruise, dude. Do a Mexico cruise.
No, the reason
let me talk to your old lady.
I'm not a people person.
Let's say what she says.
The reason I didn't care for it though was more about, for one, the bathroom situation was not optimal. I'm a big guy. The toilet's this big around, dude.
Huh.
It was not cool.
Never noticed that on my cruise.
Because you're not a fucking big dude.
Yes, I am.
You're not big like me.
I'm 260 pounds. Carlos, how big are you?
I'm bigger than you.
100 pounds more.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Does that matter?
It makes a difference.
No. I would notice if the toilet was that size.
It's tiny. It's for
dude.
It's for
I don't know what cruise you went on.
Asians.
Yeah, must have been the Asian only cruise.
But the other part was, honestly, it might not be bad if I was with some people that wanted to do some of the same shit I wanted to do. You know, we went with Sarah's mom and stepdad.
So come down there with me and Val. Let's go on a Caribbean cruise, dude. Let's commit.
Give me 10 years.
You'd have a lot,
10.
You'd have a lot more.
I don't know. I just think that money
visual candy.
I would rather go somewhere, get a car or something, and do what I'm.
Well, you know, Carlos, what I'm hearing from you is you like traveling the back roads.
Yeah.
You don't want to do what your normal people that would do on a vacation.
No.
Because, you know, everything is like glitz and glamour and shit.
Yeah, I don't.
And everybody on vacation goes there. But you want to, like, rent a taxi, go to the back roads.
Sure. No taxi. I want to rent a car.
Well, I'll rent a car, a taxi to get you to a car and see the back roads and see the real area that you're looking at. And I understand
that's appealing,
man. You could go to New Orleans, and from what I understand, New Orleans is fantastic, but you go 2-3 blocks away. It's not so fantastic. It's still hasn't recovered from,
Katrina,
super bad crime and shit over there, too.
Yeah, and, it's a lot of my vacations, I try to go to the locals and ask them where I should go because if you go where the tourists go, it's costs you a lot more money, and the locals will tell you, hey, let's go take
you don't need to do that.
And that is a lot more affordable.
Definitely.
And so what I'm hearing from you is you don't want to go where the mainstream goes. You want to see the real area.
Oh, definitely.
And I understand that, man. And I know Sarah's like that too. Sarah's an explorer. She wants to explore. And you want to do the same thing.
Well,
and I respect that.
So I will tell you this. Yeah, we want to do the same thing, but I'm not on the level that she is on.
Right.
Sarah does not give a shit, dude. She's like, we're going to just take this road and see where it goes.
Until it ends.
And if we die, all right.
Then we die.
No, I'm not good with that.
No.
Good for me. I'm like, at some point, I'm going to be like, no, we should go back. This is not good.
Val's kind of been thinking that same thing, but she's too afraid to tell Sarah.
Dude, Sarah will.
I've been on some road trips
especially
with her.
if she's
mountain drives.
Drinking, at some point while she's drinking, you're taking your life in your own hands.
because you don't let her make the decisions. No,
she does not care.
That's
she's like,
pretty much what I've heard.
Yeah, she's like, all right, we're good.
Yeah,
we'll end up somewhere.
Yeah, it's safe. Let's do it.
Well, Mike, you know Sarah
I should have known that when we
Yeah,
first got together. When we very first started hanging out, she went on a mountain drive with a guy that we work with that neither one of us was that close to, but she just went on a mountain drive with him because he needed to get out and she could not say no to getting out. And
He wanted to see the area.
They drove on a mountain drive for like 5 hours.
5 hours?
Like, it was like 4:00 in the morning and they came to a gate and couldn't get through. So they had to drive all the way back.
And
10 hours.
And they ran out of gas.
I mean,
They ended up walking.
Carlos, that's not normal. Nobody drives.
That's Sarah.
Nobody drives 10
in
hours,
hindsight,
dude.
it was a huge red flag that I just ignored. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, that sounds cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if she wasn't my niece, I'd be worried about your...
No, but no, she's
loves it.
on a different level when
That's
it comes to that.
She loves exploring.
Well,
now.
even the stories of when they went to Hawaii and with the girls.
And there'll be, like, I will go right around a road closed sign
Right.
if I know where that road goes.
Right?
Nope.
She'll disregard a road closed sign, even if she's never been there in her life.
I want to see why it's closed.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
yeah,
Yeah,
she don't care.
she the explorer in her, I'm not sure where that comes from, man.
Yeah, she just,
Because, my brother, her dad, who died when he was 21, he wasn't a big explorer,
yeah.
and
Lydia's
her
pretty
mom,
crazy though.
her mom, Lydia, is, when you say she's pretty crazy, I've never met a more game
Let's do
person in my life to say, let's do it.
it.
Well, she's 60-some years old and she'll fucking jump off a bridge right
Well,
now.
that was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you
She's
got
like,
a 35-foot bridge
okay.
with a creek,
She's calling 19-year-olds pussies and fucking jumping
right,
off a bridge.
right. That's Lydia. I remember my brother
I'm
met
like, you're
her.
fucking crazy.
Dude, I remember my brother met Lydia. I was probably like 13, 14.
That's awesome.
He met her and fell in love with her, and I just remember that relationship between the two of them, and them falling in love and getting married and everything, and Lydia just being the most adventurous person as far as, like you said, she'll jump off a fucking bridge.
That must be where
And
Sarah gets it. Yeah.
shit,
Oh, for sure.
5 years ago, I think we were at South Umpqua. We're on a bridge 35 feet tall, 30 feet. And she fucking jumped off that thing at 60 years old. And I'm
Jackson
like,
Creek,
Jesus, Lydia, she's just don't fear.
To this day, in the summertime, like, I'll warn the kids. I'm talking to little kids.
Right.
Do not shoot your great grandma with fucking squirt gun, because you will drown.
She will get you.
She will.
She's like a dog with a ball, dude. She won't. She will not let up.
So I guess that's where Sarah gets.
Yeah, no. Sarah gets so mad because I tell her all the time, "You are exactly like your mom."
No,
just
I'm not.
like her mom.
That's why you
No,
guys
I'm
fight all
not.
the time, because you're
Yeah,
exactly the
because
same.
you're like
No,
your
no,
mom.
no.
Yeah, that's
and they're both exactly like Sarah's grandma.
I know Sarah's grandma very well.
Dude, I've told this story before, but one year, Sarah and we went to Lydia and Steve's house. They had Christmas at their house.
Mm-hmm.
And Sarah's grandma and grandpa were there. We had Christmas. Everybody left except for Sarah's grandma and grandpa, Sarah's mom and Steve, and us. And we had a little fire going in the back, and me and Steve and Papu were watching freaking TV. And the next thing we know, Lydia and Sarah and them come in the house, grab the Christmas tree. Everything was out off the Christmas tree. They grabbed the Christmas tree and took it out back.
To burn it.
And we're like, what the hell are they doing? We go out there. Dude, I never
Under
heard,
the goddamn carport.
I never heard freaking Papu he was, what? He had that Dutch accent, and as soon as he got mad, he started speaking Dutch, and you didn't know what he was saying. He was just cussing in Dutch in such a thick accent you couldn't understand a word out of his mouth, but he was just cussing up and down, and Steve was cussing. they had this freaking giant fire in the backyard because they threw the Christmas tree in that was dry as hell.
A little bitty backyard.
Yeah, it was. And they were just all out there laughing their asses off, and we're all shaking our heads going, I don't know what the hell. Yeah. But yeah, they're all the same people.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah. So where are some of your favorite places that you visited? They've vacationed or whatever.
You know, we're kind of partial to Palm Springs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, which is not your cup of tea. Because it's warm, Carlos. Yeah. And warm's not your cup of tea.
That was one of your dad's favorite spots, too.
Yeah, it was. I mean, my dad had a house down there. And
he was obsessed. Actually, he was obsessed with anywhere where there was a good golf course.
Yeah. He lived on a golf course. Yeah. And nice. I visited him a couple of years down there, and that's kind of how I fell in love with Palm Springs. You know, just being around down there. You go down there in about March, it's like 82 degrees, which to me is perfect, you know, after being in the rainy season, you know, here and cold.
Yeah. That's hot for me, but I can handle that.
Yeah, but I would usually tow my Harley down there, and, you know, 80 degrees is T-shirt weather on Harley. So, you know, we'd ride around all day and night long, because nights are about 80 degrees too in Palm Springs. So, you know, you could literally...
It never cools.
There is no fluctuation.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, you know...
Maybe 2 to 3
You
degrees.
go down there March 20th, you know, and you take your Harley, you're riding downtown 80 degrees, you know, and you go down there, they have the best bars, the best entertainment. Really just great atmosphere.
Have you ever spent any time in Texas?
No, I haven't.
You'd probably really dig it.
Probably would.
It gets really humid, but it's pretty cool. Like I was over there working for a while, and one of the things I noticed was, like, I was in Houston for a while, and it was pretty humid when I was there, but not as bad as it gets. But there's all these like bars and restaurants, and they have them built like when you're driving by, they look like mechanic shops. Because they all have roll-up doors.
Like metal buildings, roll-up doors.
But when they're open, when you go through in the evening, they got all the roll-up doors open.
Right.
And like all these people on motorcycles and stuff, they pull right up, like almost right up to their table.
Oh, that's cool.
And freaking get off, and they're having their dinner or having drinks.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it was pretty neat. I thought that was pretty neat over there. So you'd probably dig that.
I would.
Yeah.
I would. We got a few places in Medford that are like that.
Yeah.
Like beer places there that have roll-up doors. Some breweries.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's something that's just kind of come to this side of the country.
Yeah.
Not recently, and we don't get to use it as much as they do because it's not as nice as long, but.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that area was pretty cool over there. Lots of motorcycles over there.
But yeah, you know, I haven't done that much traveling, honestly, but Palm Springs is one of my favorites. I would love to travel more. Bought a motorhome, hoping to travel some. You know how it is. You know, you just got to balance work and play. Yep. You know,
it's a fine line.
Hopefully, in the next couple of years, do a little bit more play than work.
Yeah,
that would probably be the goal.
I think that's the goal of every business owner.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
You know, at some time you need to just stop and say, making money can't be everything in life. It's time to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that you had a couple drunken, pretty good nights, though. It sounds like on a cruise, maybe, where you ended up taking a bath in the wrong room. And
Jesus.
Where'd you hear this?
From a reliable source. I heard
Really?
I heard you might have just ended up in the wrong room, and thought it was bedtime, but it wasn't even bedtime. And
I think you heard wrong.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. No, the same person told me you also, when you were younger, in your younger days, liked to fight a little bit, that you were kind of a scrapper.
I don't see that at all.
Mike,
You're so damn mellow.
Really nice
You're so fucking mellow.
I don't know who's feeding him
I know.
this information,
I know.
but
That's exactly what
sure
I
as hell
say.
don't seem right to me.
Yeah.
I know my son-in-law's brother almost was pushing your buttons at a family reunion one time, and you had to ask whether or not you should knock him out or not.
Okay, I'm going to answer your questions, but I got to go pee first.
All right.
Who's your
That's what we need.
All right, we're back. Yeah, so like I said, I heard that you like to fight a little when you were younger.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
You know what?
I wouldn't call it fighting.
Did I like to fight? No, I didn't like to fight, but it was always fun coming back and hashing over the fight with my buddies. Like, oh man, I seen you hit that guy. That's awesome, But
Well, you are a big dude, and I've been a big dude pretty much you're tall and big. I've just been a short big dude. But even being a short big dude, if you're a bigger person, it's like you attract it. Like other people that it's like they're threatened because you're bigger than them or something, and people just come up and try and start shit.
They have to.
Carlos, I never liked to fight.
Never started anything, right? You just finished it.
I always had fun talking about the fight with my friends afterwards, but 90% of that was with my friends fighting, not me, because I'd never been a fighter. I have never liked to fight, and I think the person who told you about that has seen me getting 3 or 4 confrontations, but every single one of those, I did not start.
Yeah.
Somebody else started them, and I have never been any good at letting something go. Yeah. If somebody pushes my button, I've always been horrible about saying, what the fuck's your problem?
If it was important enough to fucking get me to that point.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, yeah.
Why?
Exactly, Mike. It's
I know
exactly how
I know all about it.
And so I have been in many confrontations where, people push my fucking button and I'm not a good button pusher. Go push somebody else's button.
That's right.
Because
they're gonna
pushing my button's not going to end well.
They're going to learn real quick.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I same thing. I've never been much for that, but I've had, I would say anything close to a real fight that I've been in, I've either been jumped or didn't know it was happening until it was happening. But as far as I've gotten some people's faces because they were picking on my little brother or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like a chess game or playing poker with fists, someone, it's not even I guess you would say the macho bravado type bullshit, but it's somebody, like you say, they push your buttons and it's like, hey, fucker.
Well, I learned when I was young, I think I was 15 or 16 years old, because 90% of the people I hung out with were older. They were
sure.
And they weren't seasoned veterans by any means. They were like seniors in high school or something, right? But they taught me that if you stand up for yourself and act like you're not scared at all,
exactly,
90% of people are just going to back down,
turn around and walk away.
And man,
don't be a victim.
My whole life, man. Because I'll tell you what, I've had so many people try and start shit with me, and the minute I'm like, all right, and I get up and get in their face, even though I'm a foot shorter than 90% of the people that do that shit.
Yeah.
The minute they're like, oh shit, this guy's not backing down, I better not do this.
I can't bully this guy.
They're all like, dude, I was just fucking with you. Calm down.
Yeah.
And they don't want nothing to do with it. So
Yeah, it's called the Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like playing poker, you know.
Buddy of mine,
And I've been hit enough times in the face that I know that I can take it just fine. So
buddy of mine taught me the Bluff when I was back in high school. He says, "Hey George," and this guy was big, you know, 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds. He says, "George, I've got this new technique. It's called the Bluff, man. You just act like you'll kick their ass, and they'll back down." And so he says, "Let's go practice it." So we went into Medford.
Yes.
I don't know if that works very good when you're the one starting it.
Well, Carlos,
you don't need to start it.
we seen these two guys in El Camino, and so we chased them down and like was giving them shit. They gave us a little shit back, but not much. So chased them down to a stoplight, and we jumped out of our car and ran up, and he's acting like he's going to kick their ass, you know. And he's like, "George, this is a bluff, you know. You got to act like you're going to kick their ass." These guys were Samoan.
Like, okay.
I would say
that was the worst friend you ever had.
I would say the driver.
Wrong.
I'd say the driver went 370 and the passenger went 360. And I ran up to this guy's window and I'm thinking, this is the worst mistake we've ever made. But my buddies look at me like, you got to carry out the plan. You got to give the bluff or else it won't work. And I'm thinking, okay, our only chance at surviving is for me to bluff.
I hope
To
you
act like I'm going to kick this guy's
And
ass.
then run really fast.
You said you were a track star.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we continued the bluff, and luckily these guys drove away.
Laughing at you.
And I learned that day that the bluff, like you say, sometimes it's all about acting the part.
Yeah. Yep.
But, you know,
I'd never tried it on the aggressive end, though.
No.
You know, some of the stories you're talking about,
It works,
me liking the fight, yeah.
it works way better when the shit already happened.
There's quite a few of those, the same thing, you know, like guys wanting to fight me and me doing that same bluff and stuff. And
Here we go.
I mean, we could go on for a half hour on that.
Sure.
Dude,
Yeah.
I wonder if
You also mentioned on a cruise or something, I was in a bathroom.
I don't know. It was
A bathtub or something.
I just heard part of a story.
But that sounds like the time I was at a party in my hometown.
Well, I said it
Eagle
sounded
Point.
like a cruise. It might not have been a cruise.
Okay, it wasn't a cruise.
You ended up in the wrong room or some shit.
Yeah, I was at a party in Eagle Point, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
And earlier that night,
Shit.
my brain wasn't working quite right.
That's what alcohol does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently. Because I told these guys I was going to show them my gun collection. And I went into the bedroom and I got in a closet and I'm looking for my guns. And I'm looking. I can't find them. I can't figure out why. And then it kind of dawns on me. You're
not even at your house.
No, I'm not at my house. I'm at my friend's house.
You're like, I put it right here. Someone
Yeah.
moved it.
So I had to
You're like, I need to
apologize.
stop drinking so much.
I had to apologize to
Holy
these guys. The reason I can't show you my guns
Yes, I'm not at
is
my
because
house.
I'm not at my house.
And they're like, yeah, we know. We're just fucking with you.
Okay, George.
And so,
Jesus.
and then later that night, we're leaving, and my
Dang.
wife of 30 years, or at that point, it was probably 27 years, maybe 20 years, probably at that point. Anyways, she wanted to go. And so I said, okay. And so she went out to warm up the car. And apparently I went into the bathroom and I seen a claw tub. And I've never had a bath in a claw tub.
We're not leaving till I have a fucking
So
bath.
I filled that son of a bitch up. And next thing I know, 15 minutes later, I'm in the claw tub And my wife.
Kudos to her for winning out.
She's like, what the
She's
fuck
like,
are
"What
you
the
My
doing?
fuck
wife
is this
comes
dude
in.
out?"
She goes,
What the
what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like,
Jesus.
looking up at her like surprised, like,
I'm taking a bath. What the fuck do you think I'm
well,
doing?
yeah, because it never even registered in my mind that I was supposed to be getting ready to go. And I'm
That
like,
is awesome.
I think I'm taking a bath. She's like, I've been waiting outside.
God
We're
damn
leaving the
it.
party, and you're in a claw tub. Yeah,
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. Got my ass chewed and emptied the tub, and
Give me a towel. Fuck, let's go.
yeah. So I think that's what you were told about,
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
because that comes from my girlfriend, which I told her that story.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But
I'm-
she actually might have said, he might not like you bringing this one up.
Oh, yeah. Well,
That's
you
a
know.
good story.
Yeah.
I would tell that
And the
story.
one about me fighting, yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about that. Just different guys, you know,
Yeah.
Carlos being shitheads
Yeah.
and me calling them out, and
You know what's cool though about you telling about that is you had a buddy who kind of taught you the ropes. And I wonder if every guy, if it's some friend that they had that just might have been older or bigger
Kinda,
or whatever,
yeah.
that kind of taught you the
Yeah.
ropes.
Or no. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, like I said, I learned from it was actually my best friend's older brother and his buddy. And I honestly, when I was young, they were like my idols. Like we went to, like the first time I got drunk was at a party with them, and I'm drinking Bartles and James or California Cooler 2-liter bottle, you know, wine coolers and shit. And those guys were standing in the corner just watching the party like we were a bunch of idiots, and they looked so cool to me.
yeah,
And I was like, one of these days I'm going to be that guy fucking that's cool standing in the corner,
Right.
you know? And, but those are the guys that also taught us how to stand up for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
They were the guys that freaking, my buddy's brother, he had I don't remember what year it was, but it was a Chevelle, and he bought, you remember those little tiny chain link fucking
Steering wheels. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He had one of those, and I will tell you what, you better have some fucking muscles in your arms.
to steer those.
Because those fucking steering wheels are
Yeah.
so hard.
Especially if you're just sitting,
And
not rolling.
you hit like where the semi trucks have been driving on the road.
The ruts.
And I mean, that'll rip that fucking steering wheel right out of
Especially
your
if
hands.
bias ply tires, which
Oh,
they had
God.
back in the
Oh,
day.
yeah.
It was horrible.
You didn't have radios, you had bias
Yeah.
plies.
But he had that in his car,
Yeah.
and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Those chain links, too.
Yeah, those were cool. Yeah, but I think every guy has a freaking another guy that was older or
Yeah.
bigger or
I
whatever.
think you're 100%
when they're
right.
growing up, that kind of teaches them the ropes, teaches them all the stuff that they
Yeah.
wanted to ask their dad about that they couldn't ask their dad about.
I believe
or
that.
whatever.
Yeah, I had some friends that I've had a lot of people through my life that have been just people I respected the hell out of,
Yeah.
that I have loved getting to know and cherished knowing them. So the lessons you can learn from people are amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
And I just think being a good person in life's a lot about paying attention to the people that are good people and
Learning
trying
from
to
it.
learn from them.
Yeah.
Humility, I guess. and-
Reciprocate what they're doing,
Yeah.
Sure.
you know.
Well, I've learned the last few years, the more good shit you put out there, the more good shit comes
Back, yeah.
Well, exactly.
Stay away from
help
the
people
negative.
out and-
Exactly.
Totally stay away from the negative.
yeah, for sure.
You know, I'm not a religious person, but I keep thinking if I don't know if I think this, I just do it. And I think that it will matter. that if you do the right thing and you put the right shit out there and you love and you care and you appreciate, that it will come back.
It always comes back. Yeah. 100%.
You know, it's not that I hope that'll come back to me.
No.
It's just that's the way I'm going to live my life.
That's the way you got to look at it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I guess in a way I do hope it will come back to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
Well, I guess I do hope it will.
Whether it does or
I
not.
don't expect it to.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just say that.
And you're not going to be surprised if
I'm
it
not
does.
doing it because I expect it.
Sure.
Well, I've noticed since I started thinking that way, a lot more positive things happen than negative. And maybe it's just because I'm looking at them more positive than I did.
Yeah.
Total different perspective. Yeah.
I like it a lot better, so that's the way I do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't do a lot, but I do what I can do, and
exactly.
Exactly. I help out who I can help,
and yeah, exactly. You help out who you can help when you can help out, when you think you can help out.
Yep.
In the right situations, you do the best you can do.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're a little bit more flush with cash, and sometimes you're not, man. You know,
and sometimes it's not about cash at all.
No.
Sometimes it's about just helping somebody move,
or sometimes it's just about being someone to talk to.
You're right.
I've noticed that.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
No, it is, man.
That's the whole reason Mike and I are so close is because we talk to each other about shit. So,
well, I'll tell you what, man, I'd love to be closer to you guys in the future.
Yeah. Not a problem.
It's a good thing, man. I like it.
I ain't going anywhere. Not on no cruises. I know that.
Dude, Mike doesn't like big boats.
No.
He don't like big boats.
He won't get in a fucking plane.
I've never been on an airplane.
Really?
Yeah. I don't even have a real ID, so I couldn't leave Oregon.
He's scared
if
of
I wanted
fucking
to.
ants, so he's like the biggest pussy you ever met.
I get.
And he's obsessed with fucking midget chicks.
Well, that's different.
How about the dunes?
I love it. The freedom.
You like the dunes?
It's all about space. You know,
How about camping over there? You and
I dig it.
Carlos?
I dig it.
So, well, that'd be cool.
I used to camp there a lot when I was a kid.
Me
Yeah,
too.
that'd be cool.
Shit, I get.
Dude, my aunt and uncle, when I was a little kid, we used to come down, my little brother and I, we'd come down here to Roseburg because we lived in Portland for a little while. We'd come down here to Roseburg in the summer, and I'm pretty sure my folks just ditched us for like a month.
Get out.
My grandma and grandpa lived at the top of the hill, and my aunt and uncle lived at the bottom. And between them was just a big field with a garden in it. And we'd stay there for like a month. And we were either camping with my aunt and uncle or just hanging out, playing with the neighborhood kids and shit for like half the summer, every year. Well, my aunt and uncle had a couple of four-wheelers, and we'd haul their camp trailer over to the, they used to stay, back then it was at,
Horse Falls,
the other spot, if you go the other direction.
Winchester Bay.
No, I mean the same. You'd like going like you're to Horse Falls, but instead of turning, go out to Horse Falls, you just go straight.
Keep the North Spit.
Yeah, whatever that is called. So we
North
just
Jetty.
go there. That's where they like to stay. And we'd camp there.
By the horse camp.
And they went there a lot all year round. Like they'd go there all year round. And their thing was they would get up at like sunrise, or later in life I learned that it was after high tide.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever high tide.
Whatever
was.
time that was.
Yeah.
And they would ride their four-wheelers for miles down the beach.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Where-
my aunt
it's where the
had a
nucleus is.
huge collection of those glass
Ball.
floats.
Oh, no shit? Because you
Huge.
can't find those anymore.
She had probably 50 or 60 of them.
No kidding.
She had tons of them.
Just,
Wow.
What
But
do you
they
call
would
it?
ride up and down. They'd find big old shells.
What do you call that? Beachcombing?
Wow.
Or
Cool
yeah.
pieces of driftwood. And I mean, her house had tons of that stuff piled in the front
When
yard.
was this?
I was a kid. I was.
Oh, pretty young.
Early
I was young.
80s, probably.
It was probably in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, that's what they would do. And then when we would get up, they'd take us on little cruises, and we'd play rummy and shit. And we were little kids, so we didn't do much.
Right.
They'd entertain us. And then when we got older, they'd take us, we'd go up the mountains, and my uncle taught me how to fish. the first fish I caught was in water this fucking deep, and he freaking had a fish trapped that basically was dying until it freaking finally latched onto my hook. And I thought I was an amazing fisherman.
Look what I did.
You know, but yeah. So I mean, that's how we grew up, and that's what they did, and it was cool. But you know, it's way different now. I mean, there's places over there, and now there's hundreds and hundreds of people over there at a time, and it's insane. It wasn't like that back then.
No.
There was very few people, and nobody had. I think that might have even been before, like banshees weren't. Only rich people had like a banshee.
Maybe they might have had 3-wheelers.
Everybody had like little 4-wheelers that weren't even big enough really for them to re-ride.
Yeah,
you couldn't even go all the way over a steep sand dune because freaking it were too steep.
I was surprised when Sarah came over there. I mean, Sarah's pretty scared of most things.
Oh, she's not scared of speed, dude. She's not scared.
Like going down the river, you know, that's
as long as she's the one driving.
Going down the river scares the shit out of her, and
she doesn't like to not be in control.
But you're right. She don't like to be. If she's driving, she's fine.
Yeah.
But when she rode in my side by side over some big hills, she's screaming, yelling, and having fun.
Yeah.
She's not scared of the big dunes.
Yeah.
And that's her riding passenger. Yeah. I'm sure if she was driving, she'd
probably scare the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be like, you need to slow the fuck down.
But I couldn't scare her, Carlos. She was fine.
Yeah.
I remember she was pregnant with Jacob at the time at the coast, and they hopped on I think Corey had a 3-wheeler at the time. Just insane. It's like, holy shit, that girl could ride.
She hadn't rode a 4-wheeler. She told me she hadn't rode a 4-wheeler in years. Yeah. Years and years. When we went up, we took some friends camping that had never been camping. And we went up to the gravel pit up Burnt Mountain and set up camp. And we had like a little kid 4-wheeler. And I mean, a few little things. And then some friends showed up that had a freaking actual
big bike,
a big bike, and she's like, "Can I go ride it?" And she
took off down the pavement.
I mean, she had that fucking full throttle, flying like nothing. And I was like, "You're insane! You haven't rode a 4-wheeler in a million years, and you were like, jump on it like it was yesterday.
It's like riding a bicycle."
And I was like, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
Mal, you were not a young kid anymore.
Well, maybe she'll ride my drag bike over there.
You probably, as long as she was the one driving it, she'd probably do it.
She might. It would be fun as hell to see her try.
Yeah, she's not.
You know what? The shit I got, Carlos, it's for riding.
Yeah.
And anybody wants to try it, you or Mike, whatever, come over and just rev it up.
Mike, I'm telling you, you can use the saddle stool.
I mean, it's got a 1,000 cc R1 Yamaha motor
today.
185 horse. Just rev
185 horse. Yeah.
Drop the clutch and hit one gear, and you're 100 mile an hour.
Yeah.
You know, you're 100 mile an hour in 3.5 seconds.
I'm a wimp. I'm not into that stuff.
That would be a hell of a beach rider right there.
Well, it's 3.5 seconds of drilling, Mike. Might take 4 seconds.
Yeah, give or take.
Might take roughly 4 seconds.
Sure. 3.5. we'll leave
3.5 if you rev it and launch it at 12,000 RPM and bump third. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
We have.
It's been fucking awesome.
How's it been? You like it?
Yeah, Carlos,
was it what you expected?
Most people are a little nervous. You were like, well, I think I'm going to be boring, but whatever. You weren't really nervous.
You weren't boring at all.
I wasn't nervous,
George.
but I was worried that I'm not exciting enough.
You had a cool story.
I could talk to you forever. Just listening to you is awesome.
Like, I think me, you, and Mike could, like Mike said, we could talk forever.
Yeah.
We could talk for days. If we were in a camp,
yeah,
I feel like we could talk for weeks.
Yeah.
and still have interesting
You
stuff.
don't want to have a conversation with us in camp.
Mm.
The stupid shit that
Sometimes.
comes out
Yeah.
of our
I
mouth.
know.
We do get kind of silly.
But you know what I'm
sometimes.
saying, man?
Sure.
I'm saying that this 3 hours of podcast or whatever it was is one thing, but I really think me, you, and Mike could talk
Sure.
for months and
Yeah.
still
And still
enjoy
have-
each other's company.
Oh,
Yeah.
I still think there'd be stories.
100%.
Yeah.
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 Just opinions and stories and just what do you think about this? I heard this. What do you think about that? You know?
That's the beauty.
Yeah, it's just enjoying somebody's company, man.
Yeah.
And I think
camp is a different story, though, dude. It's some
so if I go camping with you guys, it's
some
gonna be a
idiot
little
dropped an
different.
axe on his head at camp one
Yeah,
time.
some dummy. And then woke up pissed off because he wouldn't listen to us to go to bed.
This happened with you guys.
You fuckers left me out in the snow. I was like, you
I
were half
woke up-
covered.
I woke up half frozen.
You were half covered. It'd be all right.
Half of me was covered in snow. The other half was covered in vomit. And that was after I had dropped an axe on my head.
Splitting mall.
Jesus.
Splitting maul on my head.
This is you and Mike camping.
Oh, yeah.
And our buddy Shane.
It got kind
And
of
actually, I think Ronnie was there that night.
yeah, Ronnie's like, fuck
Yeah,
this. He went to bed.
Yeah, and all of them fuckers were like, yeah, he'll be all right.
Carl's be all right.
Yeah.
He dropped an axe on his head. He's bleeding. But
And the vomit, by the way, was Shane's fault because he was cooking hamburgers in water over the fire, and they were raw as shit.
It was
and I ate
raining
one.
like a bastard.
you ate a raw hamburger?
Yeah, it was raining so hard that he was trying to fry them over the fire.
And the
it
pan
filling
was
the
filling
skillet
up with water. It was raining so fucking hard.
And I was like, it'll be fine. And I ate it, and
He didn't like it.
it didn't stay down.
Oh.
Then he was pissed because he had puke all over. What the fuck?
I'm like, why didn't you guys make me take my shirt off? And that I was in my camo.
You're
and
like,
some shit
Carlos,
for hunting.
you really think we could make you do anything? It's like, well, fuck you.
I woke up
Now
frozen,
my
dude.
feet are all wet.
I was all freaking like from the waist down was completely covered in snow.
Oh, man.
Good
I'm not
times.
sure I want to go camping with you guys.
Oh,
I mean,
I may have drank like 2 bottles of whiskey.
You
that
did.
night, too.
2.5.
Yeah. So we set up camp, and we had a couple of tarped in areas, but then it
Awesome.
started to dump and rain. So in the dark, we set up more tents. Basically, we tarped off
Made a tarp
like
city.
a tarp city all the way around, like a big circle around the
Right,
fire.
right.
Well, because of the way we did it, there was rope and 550 cord running everywhere,
about 7
Right.
feet
like
off
a
the
spider
ground.
web about 7 foot high. And I was trying to cut firewood. Well, when I went to freaking cut some firewood, I hit the freaking 550 cord and it bounced the fucking axe back and it just hit me in the head. But I was wearing a hat, so it didn't hurt me.
You fuckers.
Well, it might have gave me a concussion. I don't know.
You'll be all right.
I was seeing stars.
You slept it off.
Yeah. It was not good. But it was a good time. We had fun.
Yeah.
we used to elk hunt. We used to be
Make the
about
best of it.
probably 10 kids and 2 adults. And over like a 4 or 5 day weekend, we would drink roughly 14 to 17 half gallons.
That's a trip.
Yeah. And we would hang them up on the on the branches around camp.
Trophies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're trophies. So we drank probably about equivalent to what you guys are drinking.
Yeah. That's what you do.
We take a lot of alcohol and a lot of food.
Yeah. Eat better on the camping trip than you do at home in the house.
The last couple elk camps that we've had one of
Phenomenal.
those big, like black totes
Like a 70-quart tote.
that's completely filled with bottles of liquor.
Yeah, we just bring our 18 half gallons and, you know, and they'd be McNaughtons because back in that
There
day,
you go. Getting
everybody.
Fucking McNaught.
getting
all-
McNaughty.
no, all my
I haven't
friends-
heard that in forever, dude.
No, my
McNaughty.
friends at McNaughtons is all they'd fucking.
Yeah.
Is
they-
McNaughton's
they
still a
still
thing?
drink.
Do they
Yes,
still
it
even
is.
sell that?
See, I grew up on McNaughtons, dude, but I switched to R&R. Do you drink R&R ever?
No.
You ever
If
tried
it comes in a plastic bottle, I do not buy it.
Dude, you need to try R&R.
No.
Yes.
I'm going to pass, George.
No, you need to.
I'm going to pass.
I
I won't drink Crown.
No.
I don't drink that.
What's better than that?
Like, I don't know, everything. I really don't drink Canadian whiskey.
You're the bourbon connoisseur.
Well, okay, so
Canadians don't know how to make whiskey, dude.
Maybe I'm not going to convince you.
No.
But
in a mixed drink, maybe I'll have it.
Well, let me tell you the story of why I believe in R&R, okay?
Right.
Okay. My dad...
You have more experience than me, I trust
my dad in Barrow, Alaska, right? Couple quick stories about Barrow, Alaska. I don't know how much time we got left, but I'll tell you about a few stories.
We have as much time as you want.
Well, I will tell you about R&R. R&R, Richard Mare. Extremely smooth, man. Extremely smooth. And it's very cheap. My dad, when I went to work up in Barrow, Alaska, all the operators every night would come into my dad's room and would drink, right? And so my dad had Crown Royal and R&R. And he noticed, of course, that all the operators were pouring themselves Crown Royal because, he'd just say, hey, pour what you want. They'd all pour Crown Royal. So my dad decided, fuck this shit. I'm going to pour the R&R into the Crown Royal and the Crown Royal into the R&R. So he did. And sure enough, all the guys would pour the Crown Royal, which is R&R.
It's that label.
They'd drink the shit out of that fucking Crown Royal. And it was R&R. And my dad would drink a little bit of R&R,
Gotta have that label.
Yeah, so it saved him a lot of money. And they never fucking knew the difference.
Yeah. Well, I did learn if you're drinking to appreciate it, that's a different story. But if you're drinking to get drunk, you don't want to drink expensive shit.
It's too expensive to do that.
At freaking Tara's wedding, I bought $100 bottle of fucking scotch because I was like, I'm going to have some good scotch tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, 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 whatever. And I already had a buzz before I opened that bottle. And to this day, I don't even remember what it tasted like. But it was gone in the morning.
Yeah, you were fucking gone too.
Yeah, I was trashed. Sarah thought she needed to save Jacob and fucking everybody else.
Looked at Sarah.
I was too drunk to even help. I was like, yeah.
Jacob was having the time of his life that night.
No, he was passed out.
But
he was dancing like unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I remember
Carlos
that.
told Sarah to be quiet.
I remember
They
that
called me
wedding.
sexy Mexican.
I remember that wedding, Carlos.
Yeah. But yeah, that $100 bottle of fucking scotch I bought, don't even remember it.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson about that. But yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, it was fun though. Yeah. So one of the things I remember talking to your dad, to Jake, he actually I think it was Jacob was talking to him and he told him he got a job. What did he say? He got a job driving he goes, I'm driving a excavator.
Was it the excavator or off-road dump truck?
No, I think it was an excavator. I'm learning how to drive an excavator. And he chewed Jacob's ass.
You operate.
You're an operator. You don't drive it. You're an operator.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I'm pretty sure Jacob and I both have never called it anything other than that ever since then.
Yep. Operator.
Probably one of my funniest dad stories, Carlos, is St. George, Alaska. I was telling you about being out there, right? And I was running one of the biggest, equipment ever in Alaska. But on this particular day, that was broke down. So they put me on a D8 dozer, along with a good buddy of mine. my dad said, okay, son, your big excavator's broke down, so want you to kind of doze this area out, and we're going to bring in some big rock and place it, and then we want you to make a flat top area over this big rock, and that's what I want you to do, son. So I said, okay. And a good friend of mine who used to be my boss on another job named Carl Felstead, who I love Carl Felstead, one of my greatest, most appreciated persons ever in my life. I respect the hell out of this guy. He's running a dozer next to me. And so he told Carl the same thing. Okay, you guys need to make a flat spot. We're going to bring in these boulders. We're going to place them, and then you guys need to make a flat spot on top of these boulders. And so me and Carl attempted to do that. Okay, so they're bringing these boulders, and I tried to place them, and I couldn't make a flat spot on top. And about 3 hours in, I looked at Carl over there, and he's having the same problem. And so finally, me being just a kid, not very old, 20 years old, I dozed the shit out of the area. I dozed maybe 400 yards up in a pile, and I buried all the boulders, and then I dozed the 400 yards of material I had over the boulders. I made it all flat up there. And my dad showed up about 4 hours later, and I had a big flat area, and Carl Felstead, my buddy, so over there, he didn't have nothing done. He couldn't figure out how to make the boulders and the dirt. And so my dad shows up, and he goes, so how's it going? I says, well, I got my flat area. And he looked at Carl, and Carl's over there, and he goes, I don't know what the fuck to do with these boulders, And my dad goes, oh, well. And the whole time, my dad, me and Carl Felstead were doing this work. We're noticing up above on the hillside, my brother was running a big dozer up there, and he's cutting a road into like this rocky bluff. And we watched him do it, and every 15, 20 minutes we'd see him out on the tracks, and he'd be throwing up, and we could see that. And
he's throwing up.
He's throwing up. And fast forward to the night before, we're out, we're in Barrow, Alaska. Or actually, we're in St. George. Excuse me. We're on the Pribilofs. My brother had partied with the locals. And granted, I told you there's 198 men, women, and children on that island. My brother went out and partied on the beach with them the night before, and had stayed up till about 3 o'clock. And I remember him coming into the camp at about 3 o'clock. I remember my dad yelling at him because, the quarters are pretty tight there. And I woke up when my dad was yelling at him. And so the next morning comes at 6 o'clock, your start time, And so me and Carl Felstead, fast forward, me and Carl are out there trying to build this pad. We're starting at 6 o'clock, and my dad checks it in with us about 10 o'clock, and he says, how you guys doing? And I've got my pad kind of flat there, and Carl's like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to do, Jake. I just got a bunch of rocks, and he's like, well, how's Guy doing up there? My brother up on the hillside. And Carl goes, I see him outside on his tracks puking about every 20, 30 minutes. And I says, yeah, Dad. I says, hey, Dad, what are we doing? How come are we burying these rocks? Are you going to start hauling all the overburden? And overburden is, when you go to mine rock, you always got topsoil on the top.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking my dad wants to place overburden. That's what me and Carl are doing. My dad says, no, we're not going to haul any overburden up here. And I says, well, hey, Dad, how come you got my brother Guy cutting that road up there? Are you hauling overburden up there? He goes, nah. He came in camp at 3 o'clock last night. He's all drunk. And so I'm punishing him. I says, so that road he's building up there on the side of it's not for nothing. He goes, That was all for nothing. How's he doing? I says, he's been puking about every 15 minutes. And my dad's just laughing his ass off.
You just had him building the road for no reason?
For no reason. No reason. It's punishment. There was zero reason for that road.
He's like, oh, you're drunk and you got to get this
Oh,
road
yeah.
done.
It's pure punishment.
That's funny.
There was no reason for that road. My dad's got my brother up there building a road on the side of a cliff.
That's lesson learning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because he came at 3:00 drunk, And
Sweet. I love it.
yeah, I mean, none of us are doing nothing for any reason. Me and Carl Felstead.
You're like, why are we being punished?
Well, no, what we did was for nothing. It's just because he had nothing for us to do.
That's
Oh,
funny.
no.
That's awesome. All right. Well,
Not a good mixture.
Well, crazy shit, man.
all right. We're back on here. But yeah, we need to start wrapping up because our old ladies are coming to wrangle us in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
Coming to crack the whip.
yeah. I hope you had fun though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's just like talking to two good friends. I mean, you and Mike have always been good friends of mine. And,
Well,
good.
we're
coming
like
up here.
family, dude.
Yeah.
well, dude, coming up here and getting to bullshit with you guys, I mean, to me, it's just like a bullshit session.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
If people want to listen to it, great.
Yeah, exactly.
It blows my mind.
I don't know why they would.
It blows my mind how many people do listen to it. I'm like,
Well, I don't know why they would.
I don't know why
Carlos,
people
but,
want to listen to my dumb
hey,
ass.
if they want to listen to it, great.
Yeah.
But I would love to go camping with you guys and
We'll make it happen.
fucking continue this shit.
Yeah.
Even if we're not on radio,
Definitely.
Yeah. Then we can bring out the racist stuff and
Then we can talk about the real shit,
Yeah.
man.
we'll get real.
Yeah.
Oh,
You don't have to
no.
worry about getting canceled.
We can hear about all Mike's crazy shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, we go a little overboard on some. There's been a couple episodes that Sarah wouldn't let me air.
Really?
Someday there might be like a secret club that if you pay money for,
You can hear
those
the
episodes.
bad ones.
But
Oh.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
I didn't think they were bad.
I didn't either. But Sarah
Sarah called
shut
them?
down.
Really?
Yeah, she listens to almost every episode she listens to before I ever actually drop it,
And lets you decide.
and tells me, if I went too far.
Huh?
But, yeah.
You never go too far.
Do you feel like you went too far on those?
Oh, hell no.
So I don't care.
Yeah,
You don't have a ceiling, or
No.
I don't. I'm an
Really?
open book, dude. If
because I've said the F word a couple times.
No.
if you talk to me,
I was like,
oh,
should
cussing,
I not have said
cussing
that?
doesn't
has
matter.
nothing to do.
No.
Because I really tried to reform this whole time, and then I dropped
cussing
it.
doesn't matter.
I dropped it
Hey.
a couple times, and I felt like shit.
You're
I'm like,
you're in my presence. You don't have to do
Cussing
that.
doesn't matter at all. But she says that I've said some things that I don't want people to hear. But I don't. I'm an open book. If
I think
somebody
it's
talks
funny.
to me, they're gonna know who I am because I don't care.
I
you either
love-
know me or
right. You're
or
not
not.
going to pull any punches.
I don't. If you you don't want to ask me an honest question if you don't want to hear the honest answer.
Well,
I
felt-
If you say,
I think Mike's the same way. I think I'm the same way.
Yeah.
if you ask me if
I think we're three peas in a pod here.
If it
I
makes
don't
me,
think none of us have anything to hide.
no,
I don't think we have any reason to hide it.
especially if it makes me laugh. That's
It's
the
just-
best part.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Mike.
It's just like-
that's
you got to have the humor.
Yeah.
well, if they have no humor, the better.
Yep.
Yeah.
back when Tara was getting married, she sent Sarah a picture of 2 different wedding dresses, of her in 2 different wedding dresses,
Right.
And said,
Tell
"Which
me
one
what
do
you think.
And Sarah told her, "I like this one." Well, she goes, "What does Carlos think?" So she showed me the picture. I said, "I like that one, but I don't think she looks a little too big in it." I'm like, she's too fat for it, but I like this
That
one.
was the end of the world, huh? You made the bride cry.
She asked me my
fucker.
opinion. I told her my opinion.
You
But
fucker.
Did that get back to her?
She
That
was
you
on the
said that?
phone. Yeah.
Oh, word for word.
Yeah. I told her, I said, well, I like that one, but I think it's too small for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
So
dare
Yeah,
you?
not good.
tell
But, I
a
mean,
woman
you
the
ask me a
truth.
question, I'm going to tell you my answer. I don't care. No, so no, I don't care. I would say anything. I don't. If you don't like what I said, don't listen to it. I don't care. Yeah, but
That's not a bad way to be.
No.
I don't know if it's the best way to negotiate this world.
yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well, no, when I'm working,
yeah, if you're in a business situation
Right.
like me,
And that's what Sarah's looking at.
I have to kiss a little bit of ass.
I do the same thing.
And I don't want to explain it as kissing ass. I mean, I don't want to tell any of my employees, you got to kiss ass, because I feel like that's the worst fucking thing for anybody
you got to
to do.
stay neutral.
Kind of shows
But I
weakness
got
and
to tell them, customer comes first, and you have to consider.
Yeah.
try to please them.
So it's really weird.
For the business, though,
It's really weird how you explain it. Really, you're telling them you got to kiss them ass, but you're trying to say you have to be sensitive to their feelings.
Yeah.
So kiss a little ass,
You
but
tell
not
them-
saying kiss ass.
you tell them the truth, but don't offend them.
Right.
Right.
So it's
And I do the same thing with
It's a
business.
fine line with your customers. Your customer comes first. You have to respect your customer. You have to treat your customer like you appreciate their business. And therefore, your customer sometimes will come in, they'll be a real dick.
Yeah. They're-
And
Right off the
you
bat.
have to somewhat
Quince it.
try to quince it.
Stop it right then and there.
But there is a point when they're too big of a dick. You're just like,
sorry, not today.
yeah.
You're like, I don't
Sorry,
need
we're
your
not
business.
for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But in general, you're like trying to quince it and
Yep.
saying, yeah, we can accommodate this.
Sure.
And that.
But no, I'm the same way with business. Yeah. But this podcast is for me. I don't.
It's your time.
Yeah.
I'd have been a lot more brutal in my
It says
fuck
right.
you,
It says right in
shit
the
this,
description.
goddamn this. You'd have heard a whole different George if I'd have done that.
It says right in the description. It's not for people that are easily offended. I mean,
Wow,
Yeah.
I'd offended the shit out of people.
yeah. But we also.
No, I would have. I spoke my truth the whole time during this.
That's all
this
you can
podcast.
do. Just be real.
I was worried about it. I was worried about it. I'm not interested enough. But honestly, I just came up here today and I said, man, I'm just going to speak my truth, what I feel, everything I do,
and relax.
and
You've always been that way, though, when I've
relax.
talked to you.
I've never known you to be any different.
Yeah, just
So-
relax, and I am me.
Yeah.
And
That's
take
my-
me or leave me.
That's where I'm at. And
Fucking leave me if you need to.
that's-
Mike,
got
you wanna
no
go open
problem
that
with
back door for those ladies. Anyways, yeah. No, but I hope you've had fun.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, Carlos. I mean, maybe a year from now we can do it again or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a couple of guests that are like, I want to come back. You know?
Oh yeah, I'd come back in a heartbeat, man.
You know what's funny is,
we probably got more shit we could talk about.
dude, I'm sure. What's funny is the people that have been the most nervous, they open up the most.
Really?
Oh yeah. Well, I've had people that were like, I don't know, like I've had to actually talk them into coming on, and they
Yeah.
come on and you can't get a word in edgewise because they won't shut up.
Huh.
So, but yeah.
So I did listen to like a little bit of your one podcast. You did say that you're amazed at what you guys thought, you and Mike thought, like you said, people wouldn't come out, and yet they did. And yeah, that's interesting. That what you think.
Well, we were telling you earlier. I mean, we've heard a lot of stuff. I mean, we've heard some amazing stories.
Yep.
The people that we thought were going to be nothing but fun and laughs and jokes
serious
have been the most serious episodes.
Right.
And I mean, we've had people cry on the show. We've had people get super deep, and
Right.
we've had people that just told us ridiculous stories that
tons of laughs.
made us laugh our asses
Yeah.
off.
Right.
And,
Right.
it's been great, and it's fun.
I like it.
We never know. what we're gonna
Variety is the spice of life, man.
Hell yeah.
get. And all we do is kick back and enjoy
Just
it.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
You never
For me.
know what the show is going to bring, man. We may laugh, we
There
may
you go.
cry,
There you go.
we may do whatever in this next version. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it.
That'd be a blast.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll wrap it up.
All right,
Thank
man.
you for coming on the show, dude.
I appreciate it,
It was
Carlos.
awesome.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Loved it.
Hell yeah.
I'm
Thank you,
glad you had a
man.
good
Yeah.
time.
And we will definitely do some camping.
Yeah, I would
absolutely.
love to do some camping with you guys, man.
Yeah. I'll show you how to
And maybe
smoke a
do the
cigar.
show a year from now and see where we're at.
Sure.
Yeah. A cigar and whiskey and a campfire. It's my jam.
A little bit of music.
Well, I love that too, Carlos. I mean, that's
Mike's
real.
even heard me sing.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
You sing.
No. But
No, he
if I
doesn't,
drink
but he
enough,
tries.
I think I can.
He
'Cause
tried.
I'm thinking, all right, that piqued my curiosity.
He actually might be
that
good at
piqued my
karaoke.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Carlos sings.
Yeah.
I really don't, but I think
I'll
I can when
build a
I'm
campfire if you're going to sing, Carlos.
Yeah.
drunk. There's got to be a lot of whiskey. Yeah.
There'll definitely be a lot of whiskey. R&R, man.
I said whiskey.
What do you consider whiskey?
Fire water.
Oh, dude, I'll bring my own.
No,
Brown
you don't
water.
need to bring your own. You just need to tell me what to bring.
Oh, gosh.
Because
Well, I'll tell you, if it comes in a plastic bottle,
That's not it.
That's not
Pendleton's glass is Pendleton good enough? That's made in Oregon, man.
McGregor's.
Not good
Proper
enough.
12.
no, that's
I know.
still not good, dude. I'm a bourbon and scotch guy. I'm not.
Is
I'm not-
bourbon Canadian?
No, bourbon is like Kentucky.
Then what the fuck are you telling me you like Canadian? You
don't.
like Kentucky.
I said I have some Canadian whiskey for you.
Why don't you just say you like Kentucky?
Kentucky.
Well, I like bourbon, which is what bourbon is from Kentucky.
Exactly. So is it what I'm saying, right?
And
Yeah.
scotch is from Scotland.
I
so-
know nothing about bourbon, dude.
them damn Canadians.
Never even
It's
took
all whiskey. It's
They-
just
I've
different
never,
regions.
I don't
They
think I've
copied
taken a
them.
shot of bourbon. Maybe one shot that you
Kentucky
gave me.
Irish.
Well, I would hook you up, but I know.
I think you hooked me up with one shot of bourbon one time.
Maybe
Dude, I have never fucking tried bourbon.
we'll do it. Well, you got to start there.
Sounds
You
like-
can't jump into it.
Sounds like a bourbon
start
night.
there.
Bourbon and cigar night.
Yeah, you need a cigar. That's what you need.
Not me.
Mike can't because he'll die.
Yeah, I'll die.
Your khakis will die? Is that what you said?
No, I said Mike can't have a cigar because
Yeah.
he'll die.
Oh, I thought you said my
but you and me,
khakis
we
will
can have a
die.
cigar. So, anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. George, it's been fun. I hope you had a good time.
All right, Carlos.
Mike, it's always fun.
Of course it is.
I know. And once again,
Where are we at?
if any of you ladies out there are interested in hooking up with Mike, we're taking resumes.
I don't think so.
Yeah. sparetime@yahoo.com.
Hey,
No,
I'm
no.
not gay.
Me neither.
I'm not gay, but if I was,
Yeah.
I'd be all over my.
I
Hey,
know.
I've heard that before.
I would. I'd be on this guy like an ant.
I'm a
on
fucking
piece
peach,
of
eh?
meat.
Yeah.
I'm a peach.
Except for he's scared of ants. so-
Yeah, I don't like ants.
You wouldn't get the meat if you looked like an ant.
Nope, I'd be running.
Yeah. But I'm not gay, so
There you go. Where the fuck were you at, Carlos? Who's this sponsored by?
Oh, shit. Yeah. Once again, this episode is sponsored by Umpqua Survival. I'm looking for new sponsors, so if you're interested, I will take your money. And anyways, we're going to call it a night. And until next time, please have a good night.